one to talk with all by myself. No one to walk with, but I'm happy on the shelf. Ain't misbehaving, saving my love for you, for you, for you, for you. I know for certain the one I love. I'm through with flirting, it's you that I'm thinking of. Ain't misbehaving, saving my love for you. Like Jack Horner in the corner, don't go nowhere. What do I care? Your kisses are worth waiting for. Believe me, I don't stay out.
Well, thank you.
No place to go. I'm home about 8, just me and my radio. Ain't misbehaving, saving all my love for you.
Ain't misbehaving, a Merb pick. Thanks for the cool intro tune, Merb. It's been a while since I've listened to Fats Waller. I was afraid you might not show up. How you doing, buddy?
I am doing well. How are you?
I'm fantastic, my friend. Fantastic. Your broadcast last night, let me do a little housekeeping before I get too far away from it. Forget to do it.
Got to read all those pink hand wavings before they get out of control.
Do you want me to do that, or I was gonna skip over that? You do have you do
I got
have
time, brother.
Cool. You do have the pink hand waving thing down perfectly. I like that.
Thank you. I've studied at the feet of the master.
Okay. What's his name? Who is that guy?
No idea. He's
Right.
some schlep.
So don't talk about Stone Vat like that. So I dissed you on your G-string account, and I apologize. I missed that blatant fucking, what was going on there. So if you want to throw up your G-string link, Merb needs money. I didn't realize it. I feel really fucking bad now. He does actually genuinely need money. He has a G-string fund. He will put the link up. I will put it in the...
I won't. I actually won't. It'll mess with your video. It'll hide it because it's a tiny URL. YouTube is scared of it. So
okay, I'm glad you're scaring YouTube. I will put it in the description box after the broadcast. Please, for the price of a cup of coffee, you can help save Merb from starvation. Visit his tiny URL and kick a little into the G-string count. You'll enjoy the return on your investment.
It's money well spent, and you know what? I'm a giver, so I always give a little something in return. So you won't walk away empty-handed.
Sweet. So we're here to talk about censorship and self-censorship today. I don't have much of a problem with an individual censoring themselves. I mean, it's up to you what you do or don't say. We don't let every thought fly out of our heads, though. I think you and I share a similarity in the fact that our filter is pretty fucking porous, and we let a lot get through that other people would probably bite their tongues on.
I want to clarify.
Okay.
Censoring yourself, self-censorship, is very loosely phrased. And number one, my position is that censorship is external. And instead of self-censorship, I think a better way to phrase it would be internalized censorship. And I mean, everybody makes what they think is in their choices, what's in their best interest. If you have a vested interest in, like, I don't know, not calling your boss a cocksucking son of a bitch, right? Then you won't say it because that's in your best interest, or your perceived best interest, I should say. Censorship is something external, where you've said something, or it's where you've said something, or you're prevented from saying something by an external force. And internalized censorship is where you have taken that external censorship and you've made it part of your custom or habit. Not that it's in your best interest or even your perceived best interest, but because you've been told it's the thing to do. And so you no longer can think those things or explore those ideas. And in fact, a lot of times what will happen is, especially women and weak men will then try to enforce that particular censorship on everybody else. So for example, neither Shiz nor Dogtective are gay. The F word, the forbidden fruit, the F bomb, as it were. It's your house. I will respect your.
You mean fag? You can say fag if you want.
Okay, so
I mean, I'm not going to censor you. This is a conversation about censorship, so I'm sorry to interrupt, but feel free to express yourself as you see fit. Don't worry about.
I don't want necessarily you to have any repercussions. People were saying that an external force, i.e., YouTube, had threatened to take down your channel. I'm not trying to do that. But neither Shiz nor Dogtective are fags. Neither one of them are. Neither one of them should be affected by that word. There were no fags in the conversation that you were having. No one was expressing, like, I personally am offended because I am gay. I have been beat up and people called me a fag while they were beating me up. There was none of that. They were merely, they had internalized the censorship and then they were externalizing it on you. They have become little robot minions of the powers that be, and they were exercising their will upon you. So that's what I mean by self-censorship.
So what I've been calling self-censorship, you would refer to as internal censorship?
No. What you have been calling self-censorship, I would refer to as just you making a decision what you want to say in your own perceived best interest.
Okay, correct. So I can stick with what I thought self-censorship was. So your idea on internal censorship is the censorship that exists out in the world and the pressure to stop people from using certain terms, which almost decadally fucking rotates and changes.
I don't think it does. I think it marches in one direction. I don't think it changes. Like retard, there's a driving pressure pushing that you can't say retard. They were pushing Latinx for a while. That I've seen a shift on. I used Latinx and somebody who's like, I'm Hispanic and we don't do that. We don't. So that's weird, and I don't like it. So I mean maybe, but generally speaking, I think it marches one direction. It marches towards less liberties and less freedoms. And I mean, if you think about like all of the things that we're no longer allowed to discuss, a lot of those things have been unallowed to discuss for decades, like the Holocaust. you can't have an honest discussion about the Holocaust. And I'm not saying whether it happened or didn't happen or whatever. I don't really care. I'm not Jewish and I'm not a Nazi. So, I mean, it doesn't really matter to me. But you can't have a discussion about that. That would be shut down. You can't have a discussion about National Socialism as a political ideology. You can have a discussion about communism as a political ideology, and that's okay. I mean, you know, and you look at the relative body counts of the two of those different political ideologies, and you can see a marked disparity in one direction. But you can only talk about one of them and not the other. And it just marches in one direction only. So I don't think it does change either way. It just goes one direction.
I find that kind of eye-opening, because my grandfather is on my mom's side was German Jew. My great-grandfather left Germany because he could feel the pressure, the buildup. He could feel the change in sentiment in the German population, and luckily got his family to America before things really popped off and got bad. Well, I never experienced any issue about talking about the Holocaust growing up, or any time I've ever openly talked about it.
You can't debate it. There's only one accepted position on it.
Well, I would get that. I understand the accepted position, but I think I mean, Hitler killed a lot of fucking people. It's a historical fact. So if anybody was on the opposite side of that equation, it would just, to me, it would seem kind of weird. I would have that conversation. I would love to have that conversation with a person who didn't think that you know, that tragic piece of human history. And honestly, I think talking about that and talking about events that, I mean, is the First Amendment is based on the speech you really need to protect the most is the speech that's unpopular.
Yes, that's the underlying force behind it. And then you have people who try to circumvent that and use you have freedom of speech, but not freedom from consequences or various other things like that. And that's very hard to fight against, especially when there's a lot. There was a time when it was the government that had the control over people's lives. Newspapers weren't really. I mean, you could either choose to read it or not read it. They couldn't really exert much control over your life. But nowadays there's a kind of a second layer that has a lot of power over people, and that second layer is social media. And now we have unelected people who are exerting as much or more pressure on people. They seem to all have the same playbook. They seem to all have the same idea of what is and or should be acceptable. And I'm not saying there's like some nefarious cabal. I'm saying that they probably look at it and they probably say, okay, so like the term fag is it drives away consumers, and therefore it's going to drive away advertisers if you have some sort of a toxic environment. And so we don't want that, because our goal is to make money on this particular platform. So we're going to censor that particular language and disincentivize that particular language to try to maximize our profitability on this particular platform. So I'm not saying it's anything nefarious, but it still pushes one direction, and that one direction is towards limited speech. Now it's not the government doing it; it's a different force. But you can't break away from social media in today's day and age. Like, if you want, I don't have a Twitter account, but if you wanted to get like updates from the government, most government agencies use Twitter to disseminate information. They say, check out our Twitter account. If you want to see when the next town hall meeting is, check out our Twitter account. And you're like, well, what if you don't have Twitter? And they're like, well, you know what? F you, buddy, because you need to have Twitter. This is current year, and so you need to have X social medias.
Don't they still bulletin board paper, the government? I mean, isn't there, before social media existed, you would go to the city hall, right? There's a public bulletin board and they would post notices. Don't they still do that?
They probably do. But if you want any like in-depth thing, they might post like a bulletin on the board there. But like if they wanted to, it used to be if they wanted to get news out in a fairly timely fashion, they would use the TV because that was what everybody had. Now that's not what everybody has. Now everybody has it's not Twitter anymore. It's something else. It's X or something like that. Now everybody has an X account. If you don't have an X account, well, F you. And before it was TV, they would use like the newspaper. And so, if you didn't have a newspaper, then subscription, then F you. It's just the way our everything works. People want convenience. The government wants convenience. They want to reach out to people in the areas of their convenience. And so they use extra governmental sources that can censor you and can censor the government. I think it's absolutely amazing. Speaking of censorship, the things that Trump has been charged with. I mean, I don't care if you're a fan of Trump or not. I think he was a shitty president. I'm not gonna hide that. But at the same time, I don't think that anything he did warrants a charge. And like they were talking about like petitioning the government for grievances is a conspiracy theory. Challenging elections is a conspiracy theory. Renting a convention center is a conspiracy. Asking your lawyer whether or not or what steps to do to challenge a particular vote or a particular result. Asking your attorney how to do this legally. That's evidence of a conspiracy. And then the attorneys are also getting charged with it, which mind blowing. As an attorney, if you can't give your client honest advice about like what is or isn't legal, and you end up getting charged with a conspiracy because you're like, okay, so you can't do it that way, but here's a legal thing you could do. All of a sudden, like it's conspiracy or it's a conspiracy charge. I mean, it's just crazy. It's absolutely crazy.
You would think that the speech that would be the most protected in the United States would be the attorney-client privilege, more so than any other. It's always
been confidential. I think the Supreme Court, if it ever gets to the Supreme Court, if they actually sack up this time, because last time this came up in front of the Supreme Court, they decided not to tackle any of the election issues, which I think is again, I don't really know or care if they're. I don't like. I had a choice between shit sandwich and giant turd, so like whichever one got elected. I mean, it was all going to be bad, but there's a lot of people out there who want to know, like was this election stolen? And the Supreme Court punted on it, and they let all the lower courts punt on it, and so everybody kicked it out for all these challenges for procedural issues. And so, we're left with a divided nation that doesn't know shit from Shinola about what happened, and now, but anyway, yeah. So political speech used to be very protected, and the First Amendment right to petition your government for redress of grievances, that is written right into the First Amendment. That's pretty plain as day. And the petitioning your government for redress of grievances, the way you do that, generally speaking, is you file a lawsuit or some sort of a petition in a court to have the court correct any overreaches by the legislative or executive branch. And now that gets you a conspiracy charge. So that's fine. Yeah. That's good stuff.
Kind of strange. Isn't the essence of free speech in the sense it exists in America, doesn't that really come out of political speech? It's the idea that you can't have fair or real elections if free speech isn't allowed, if the elected individual can turn around and punish the individual that lost in the election for speaking truths, then you have a situation where you'll rapidly degrade into people they won't fucking talk.
I'm not a history guy, so I believe free speech was invented in the 1800s, and that was the way it was was enshrined in English common law a long time before the U.S. became the U.S. Obviously, everything free speech, there's various levels of it.
Mhm.
You know, there is no absolute free speech. They could still punish true threats. They could still punish defamation. You know, even though it's a private lawsuit, that's still the government stepping in to give you a judgment that you can execute. So it's still a First Amendment would apply to defamation laws. So I don't know. I don't know the exact history of it. I mean, I think the founding fathers had this wonderful idea that a republic would be really pretty cool. I don't think a republic is really super cool. I think a republic is about one of the shittiest forms of government out there. They never last long. And it quickly devolved into taking away a lot of the protections that the founding fathers had put in, like having the actual states elect senators and things like that, instead of leaving it to the people of the state. Now it's the people of the state who elect the senators. So instead of having like the people's house and then like the states, now it's just everything is the people's house, and it's all stupid and gross. And just like every other republic, it hasn't lasted very long, and it's going to be just terrible. That's why I'm a monarchist.
You are not. You really think we should have a king? Really?
Absolutely. You could have a shit king, or you could have a great king, but you're never going to have a great president. You're never going to have a great republic government. It just never is going to happen. I mean, if you look at how quickly the federal government just fell into absolute bullshittery, it happened quick. You know, there were sedition laws or the whiskey rebellions. I mean, there were all sorts of just terrible things that happened really quick. And the problem with the republic form of government is that no one is responsible for shit. We have our series of checks and balances, right? And the president's in charge because he says what to do. Oh, wait, but he doesn't, because he can only execute the law. So it's the legislature. They write the laws, so they get to tell us what to do. And they're responsible for everything. Oh, wait, but they're not. First of all, there's like 5 billion of them, and all of them can point to the others. And if you look at any law that gets passed, like the recent tragedy in Hawaii, right? We want to send money to these people because they've just had their asses handed to them by this wildfire. And so what are we going to do? Well, we're going to have this bill. We're going to have this bill. We're going to send money to Hawaii. Wait, we're also going to tack on more money for Ukraine. So if you want to give money to Hawaii, you're going to have to give money to Ukraine. And if you don't want to give money to Ukraine, you're going to have to vote against giving money to Hawaii. And if you vote against giving money to Hawaii, we're going to say you're a heartless bastard. So you better give that money to Ukraine. And so everybody points their fingers. Nobody's responsible. But even then, but the legislature, they might write the laws, but it's the president who enforces the laws, and it's the judiciary who determines what the laws mean. So is the judiciary in control? Well, first of all, there's 9 of them, and you look at all the decisions. It's usually 5-4. They all point fingers at each other. They can reverse themselves later. They can make up whole cloth rights that we don't have, that aren't listed in the Constitution, but you actually need this right in order for you to be able to do it. And just because we've been doing it this way for centuries, that doesn't mean we can't just turn around and impute it into the Constitution. So are they in control? Well, no, because they can't legislate anything, and all the legislature has to do is write a new law that clearly lays out that no, that other thing doesn't work, and all of a sudden it's gone. So nobody's responsible for a goddamn thing. And because nobody's responsible for a goddamn thing, but we pay them quite a bit of money to be there, it's lucrative. And you know what? They do have some power, and so the people with money, because it costs money to get elected, so they need to get money to get elected so that they can have this power and they can make this money. The people with the real money, not schlebs like us, those guys, they can buy politicians, and so they all buy politicians. And there's a reason why tanks, hey, we got this tank we're building, and this part is built in California, this part is built in Oregon, and this part is built in Washington. So you're going to screw your electorate over if you don't buy my tank. And so they all vote to buy the tank, and show me a politician who has left office less wealthy than they walked in, and it just doesn't happen. So yeah, but a monarchy, you've got the one guy, he doesn't really stand anything to gain, he's got everything anyway. And you could have a great king. You could also have a shit king, but you could have a great king. You could never have a great republic.
Rome wasn't a great republic?
No.
Really?
How long did the actual Roman Republic last?
Well,
not very long.
The Byzantine portion went on until the 1500s, right?
That wasn't a republic.
Okay.
They had an emperor. You don't have an emperor of a republic. Once Caesar took power, it was no longer a republic. It was a republic in name only. So there you go. So yes, I am an actual monarchist. I think we made a wrong turn at Albuquerque. There should be someone who is ultimately in charge. Everybody should be responsible to that person who's ultimately in charge. I mean, like if you look at Russia, let's look at Russia for a minute. You've got Putin in there. You know, I don't really care how you feel about Putin. We can look at some actual facts. Putin has gathered a large amount of power to himself. That's how he has been president for so long, and he's always going to be president. He has a huge approval rating. I think it's well over 80% in Russia, because he took Russia, which was just a giant shithole in the 90s, full of corruption, and he unfucked it. And now if you look at Russia, Russia can outproduce the US by orders of magnitude. They don't have the same kind of pressures that are on the US government to make people money. There's a reason. My understanding, I'm not a military industrial expert, but my understanding is that Russia pumps out millions of rounds of 155 millimeter artillery ammunition every year. Millions, plural millions, like multiple millions. And the U.S. is capable of pumping out somewhere around like 24,000 rounds a year. And the reason why is because there is no incentive. There's no money to be made. This war in Ukraine's going to be over. So there's no incentive to the actual companies that make these things, because the U.S. doesn't do it. Companies do. Private companies do. There's no incentive for them to actually like expand factories, bring on new lines of materials to come in, put in all the new machines, train up all the new workers. Just no incentive for them to do that. But all of this old machinery is going to Ukraine. Why? Well, because if everybody sends all their old machinery to Ukraine, all the really expensive stuff that is fun and profitable to build, like F-16s, you know, we have this new F-35 we want to sell everybody. So we send all the F-16s to Ukraine, and we sell all these countries that sent their F-16s to Ukraine. We sell them all these brand new F-35 fighter jets, and you know, hoorah! We made some money, but it's not you and it's not me, and we're never going to benefit from shit on it. But that's just the way this cookie crumbles. You and me. The only way that our government makes sense, if you look at the actions that our government takes, and we're way off the censorship topic, but
that's okay though. It's all right.
The only way the actions of our government make sense is if you look at it and you say to yourself, how could they possibly fuck me over any harder? They can't. Okay, so sweet. So they have to hate me in order to be doing the things that they're doing. Because if you look at everything they do, it's just, I hate you so much. I want to lock you down. I want to take all your money. I want to import people who are going to do jobs that everybody's like, oh, Americans won't do these jobs. Well, you know what? Americans did those jobs for centuries before all of a sudden in 1964, we opened up the floodgates and we started letting everybody in. And then all of a sudden, you know, and then everybody's, you know, I love all the right wing guys, you know, Reagan. Yeah. You know, Reagan, like he did an amnesty thing. He let like 8 million or so illegal undocumented immigrants. He made them into U.S. citizens, you know, bypassing all the stuff that you're supposed to do. So now everybody comes here because they know that just, you know, all they have to do is wait long enough. There's going to be another amnesty and they're going to become citizens and whatever. And I've worked, you know, in California, we have a lot of Mexicans come up here to work. And I've worked in the trucking industry and I've worked in the moving and storage industry. And there's a lot of, you know, day labor, cash money workers that are Mexican. And they come up here and they work for dirt cheap and they send most of their money back to Mexico for their mom and their dad or whatever. Yeah. And they took jobs, you know, I mean, like, they took our jobs, but real talk is there used to be actual, you know, U.S. citizens who worked in agriculture. This was before we had all the machines. Even more U.S. citizens, you know, per capita worked in agriculture, doing the heavy work before the borders were open. And you know, the thing is that our money was worth more, and people made more money, real talk, real money, that they wanted to do it because you could support a family. Like a single man could support a family by working as a field hand. And if we went back to that, if we went back to where a single man could support a family of 4, have a house and a car and feed a family of 4 by working as a field hand, guess what? American citizens would do it.
Yeah. Farming's a tough gig though, man. It's not for everybody.
Well, I don't necessarily believe that. There was a time back in medieval England where serfs worked I think they worked 180 or something days a year, some crazy low amount, and you can't really do. I mean, there's a lot of time between the planting and the harvest where you're just kind of in cruise control, and then a couple really heavy work times where you till the fields and plant, and then another heavy work time where you harvest, and in between that there's just kind of maintenance, damage control going on. Not that bad.
I mean, only
hold on a second. Kevin Fitton says, "Sorry, Merb, Russia can't produce squat." Well, I hate to break this to you, but everything that we've seen go on in Ukraine says you're not only wrong, you're fucking amazingly wrong. You're like the opposite end. You're so wrong. You're not even wrong anymore. You're just out in left field somewhere. Crazy. Russia's producing something like 120 or 1,200 tanks a month, I think, is what they're producing. It's absolutely insane. It's absolutely insane. They don't have the EPA, so they're able to. They're huge landmass. They're very rich in natural resources. They have huge factories that they are churning stuff out in. They're like they started off the war with a huge deficit in drones, and they've more than made up for it. I mean, everybody was like, they can't produce chips, right? They're gonna have to steal computer chips out of washing machines or some shit. But they launch hundreds and hundreds of high-end missiles that the Patriot missile systems can't shoot down every month. I mean, they're producing the Sidewinder missiles. Oh, geez, what the fuck? Sidewinders, I believe, are U.S. air-to-air missiles. But sure, Unforgiven Jerry. But Russia is its production base just far outstrips the U.S. Just far outstrips. We don't produce anything here in the U.S. anymore. Our factories are Lego factories, and what that means is that everything that we produce is made somewhere else. They send the parts over because that gets them better tariff rates, and then in our factories we take those parts and we put them together into a finished product, and that's it. I mean, we don't produce shit anymore.
I feel bad. I've done pretty good in a system that's rigged to help the government and the people in power. I mean, I don't disagree with the things that you said. But I can't argue with the fact that I've been, relatively successful in an equation that I understand is stacked against me.
Yeah. I mean, just because it's stacked against you doesn't mean that there aren't some people who won't succeed. Like I am blessed that I've managed to succeed. But if you look at like home prices in California, houses sell for like a fairly inexpensive house, about $500,000. You're looking at more like $800,000-$900,000 for a lot of houses in the area. And if you look at what the average salary is nowadays, I mean, most people don't make $100,000 a year, even in California. If you're doing like $120,000 a year, that's really good. That's $10,000 a month. That's pretty good. You won't qualify for a loan on a $750,000, $800,000 house. So like, but if you look at back, back in the 40s or 50s, people on minimum wage, people on minimum wage could actually buy a house, not a big house, a tiny house, but they could buy a house. And in California, I do a lot of family law because I am a first-year family law attorney. So one of the things that we have to do in family law is an income and expense declaration. And in that, you have to say how much money not only are you making, but how much money you're spending on various things, monthly expenses. And one of those things is going to be like rent. And you look at some of these, like I haven't rented in quite a while, thankfully. I'm pretty fortunate about that. But rent on like a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom apartment is like $1,800 a month. How, like, that's insane. And, I don't know. It's $1,800 a month. That should be like a mortgage payment. But I mean, you can't get a mortgage for that anymore.
I think the last time I checked in the city of Atlanta, which I'm glad I didn't buy because everybody fucking moving out after COVID. But pre-COVID, the rent on a 1-bedroom apartment was basically a fucking mortgage payment on a house. Because the population in Atlanta is very transient. Like, people don't, they come, they work, they move on, There's a good population flow through the city. And there's always been a greater demand for apartments than there are apartments in Atlanta. So, I mean, I understand all that. I've watched, because I own properties in a few different states with, co-ownership with friends. And over the last 10 years or so, everything's pretty much doubled in value.
Yeah. I mean, you could do, I caution people, don't buy anything on credit. The only thing you should ever buy on credit is land. And that's because land has actual value, and it just goes up, especially as the dollar devalues, which is, you're saying, like, I do watch your streams. I very much enjoy them. They're very, I figured out why as a tangent. So I watch a lot of like news, where I prefer places that news programs that talk about facts and not opinions. But I watch a lot of news, and if I'm driving and I'm listening to one of those, I have to listen to it. Like, if you zone out for like 10 minutes and you come back to it, they're talking about a different subject. You have no idea what's going on. You have to back it up and listen to it again. But your shows, anytime I tune into it, like I space out and I come back to it 10 minutes later, I mean, I just right back in the flow. I haven't really missed anything like that isn't gonna. So I like that. I can just like fall back into it, and it's very enjoyable. It's very cathartic.
I'm glad to hear that.
But you're talking about you don't understand gold and only cash. Now I haven't done the buying gold or silver thing myself, but I understand why people do it. Is because the dollar, like, you put $1 in your pocket and tomorrow it's worth less than it was when you put it in your pocket. If you buy gold, the gold has tangible value. It's a real thing. And I get it. I understand what you're saying, but gold actually has a lot of uses. They use it in a lot of electronics and things like that. So there is a real value to gold and to silver, because they use silver for various things as well. And platinum, they use platinum in manufacturing. So those and there's a finite amount of those on the earth. So
when was gold discovered? When did human beings discover gold? 5,000 years ago?
I don't know. Before written history. How about that?
Okay. We'll keep it short. Let's say it was 1,000 years ago. That's inside written history.
Sure.
What day since gold was discovered did gold not come out of the ground? There might be a finite amount of it,
right,
because nothing's truly infinite except God himself. So what day did somebody say, oh, fuck, no gold came out of the ground today?
Right.
Gold comes out of the ground every fucking day.
What day did we run out of land, There's been land every day, but there is a finite amount of land, and there is a finite amount of gold, and it's the first people who discovered gold is they probably picked up a chunk,
Right.
but nowadays it's getting harder and harder to pick up a chunk. The chunks are gone, so people are doing things like they're digging up metric tons of dirt, and they're processing it to try to find little bits of gold to put together to make bigger pieces of gold. There's a lot of cost involved in prospecting for gold. People. Yeah. There's gold futures. I don't understand all that stuff. I'm not smart enough. It's above my pay grade. But there's like gold futures. There's people bet on the value of gold, et cetera. And a lot of that has to do with how much they're finding at any given time.
Right. Right. I was in, as a kid, I have relatives in the city of Denver. And, we went out and visited the family. We did a little tour outside the city, old gold mines and gold mines that are still operating. All these facilities have these massive piles of yellow sand. They call it yellow sand. They know there's gold in the sand because of the yellow tint to the sand, but they don't have a cost-effective process to extract the gold from the sand. So they're literally just stockpiling the shit, waiting for a technology to come along to efficiently extract the gold, or the price of gold to rise high enough that it's worth it to pick it out of the fucking sand.
Yeah.
Like it's amazing that they're that, I hate to say greedy, but they're that covetous of fucking dirt. That's the thing that fucking blows my mind. Like, I understand the value of precious metals in industrial use.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand jewelry. I don't fucking get it. I never have. The whole self-adornment thing escapes me. I don't understand the reason for it.
I think a lot of it's cultural. I've worked with a bunch of people from India, Pakistan, that kind of area, and it has a lot of cultural significance. The wearing of gold, like little kids will have gold jewelry on.
Right, but I want to be around when the first dude picked up, like you said, a nugget of gold out of probably a stream bed. So, it was nice and clean. It didn't look all tarnished and shitty. Because one of the attractive things about gold is it's a metal that does not really tarnish.
It's shiny.
It's easy. Right? So man found shiny thing. Man was attracted to shiny thing.
We still are.
Right. At what point did this early man take nugget of shiny thing and decide to just start pounding the shit out of it?
I don't know.
Because
probably before written history.
Right. But that's where the real desire for gold comes from, is when you get past shiny yellow rock. This is a malleable metal that's easy to transform into other things, which I think is where it moves so efficiently from shiny yellow nugget to gold necklace, because it's a very easy metal to work with. You don't need a lot of tech, and in a Stone Age resource base, you can beat this stuff out and make some intricate shit with it.
I got something else you could beat out.
I hear you on that one, dude. Did you bring your hand warmers?
Sorry, slight detour. But yes, you're right. The ease that they could work with it probably had a lot to do with it. But that's also why they started off, the copper age, the bronze age, the iron age. As humans developed better and better tech to be able to work with more and more metals, we moved on from that. But at the end of the day, gold was still shiny, and humans humans, it's probably one of those things where like humans valued it first because of its ability to be used to make things when they couldn't really use anything else. And then we just, as whatever, we just haven't really lost that. It's been culturally ingrained in us. And so it still sticks around and we still value it, but it's not a very common, because it's so heavy. It's not a very common metal. Something about the way stars die and explode, where they produce heavier and heavier metals, and it's the heavier the element, the less of it there is in the universe.
Right.
And gold is not very common. So, like, we have an iron core of the planet. Iron's going to be pretty common, but we don't have a gold core to the planet. So there's definitely a finite amount.
I'll give you that. So
I'm sorry that I'm not being as spicy as maybe you thought I was going to be.
No, that's all right. I'm actually enjoying. Look, there's only two things I really that completely grab my focus. One is, how do I make money here, which is, been going on since I was a kid. And the other is just figuring out how shit works, because that lends really well to how do I make money here. So, as long as I'm figuring shit out, I'm okay. Because if I'm not figuring shit out, I'm just going to go build a fucking bomb and blow something up.
Allegedly, in Minecraft.
Right. Exactly. Graphically, digitally.
There you go.
Because if you can't figure out how something works, the next best thing to do is take a hammer to it and break it apart so you can see what's inside, which is why, probably that early guy with the yellow nugget started thumping on the fucking thing. And then somebody else was like, hey, if you don't hit it so hard, you won't break it up. And we can hammer this shit out into a very thin sheet and then make shit with it.
And wrap it around a stick is, I believe, your example. Because everybody wants a gold-plated stick.
No, it was the idea of if you can hammer this shit out thin enough, then you can wrap a chunk of wood with it and try to pass the wood wrapped chunk as a gold bar. Right? That's eureka. That's water displacement. How do you tell the difference between lead that's been gilded and solid gold?
Yeah.
You dunk it in water and see how much water it displaces.
I remember that from what was that, chemistry? I think they talked about that.
It is
one of those stupid science classes. Stupid science.
No, not stupid science. No.
I'm a lawyer. We don't do science. We don't do math. We don't do science. We just do words. Words are all you need.
Words and paper. Well, not so much paper anymore.
Words. I mean, words on paper, words spoken. It's all words.
One of my first good paying job was as a clerk in a law firm while I was in college. Then I found out the bastards were charging me as a paralegal.
I mean, no, we would never do.
No, right, exactly. No. So I instantly wanted a fucking pay raise. So I had been doing the individual I worked for. It was a small partnership that broke out of a larger firm in upstate New York, representing Owens Corning Fiberglass in asbestos litigation. And I was literally doing third-party impleter research for the South Mall project in Albany, the Rockefeller Plaza. And, I was cataloging every fucking piece of construction material that had asbestos in it.
Sounds fun.
Yeah, exactly. It was beautiful. In a basement of a parking garage, breathing, car exhaust 8 hours a day. But I was making $20 an hour, so.
Back at that time, that was probably pretty good money.
Back when $20 an hour was real fucking money.
Real money.
Yeah, my friends were making $6 or $7 an hour in their burger flip jobs, and I was getting 20. All I had to do was breathe in a lot of car exhaust while going through, 60-year-old boxes of paper. The amount of paper that was saved was absolutely fucking amazing. Like I have, if you Google it or look at it, the South Mall in Albany in New York is shaped like the palm of a hand with the middle finger up and the thumb bent over. It was apparently Rockefeller designed it this way to tell the state of New York to go fuck itself. Because
trivia. Nice.
The amphitheater is called the Egg, and it's the poorest acoustically designed amphitheater in the United States. It makes no sense that it's in the capital of New York. It's such shitty acoustics, but it looks great as a thumb in a middle finger up. So, but I have the blueprints for that, a lot of the blueprints for those buildings, because they were literally on a burn pile when I was going through that shit. Like they were going to be disposed. So I rolled them up, stuffed them in a tube, and took them home with me.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
And those will probably be worth something someday.
Never.
Or not. Okay.
Just a pair of silver bracelets. Just why they're framed and in a fucking basement den.
I have a couple of construction litigation lawsuits going on, and they suck so much balls. So I can feel you on the amount of work you had to do on that asbestos litigation.
I'll tell you this, Owens Corning will never go to court on a fiberglass case because of the asbestos shit.
Oh, really?
Everything gets settled out of court and then sealed because apparently fiberglass is a lot worse than asbestos. The problem with asbestos is the fiber is corkscrew shaped, and if you inhale it, if it embeds in your lung, it causes a slight ulceration. Then if you smoke cigarettes on top of that, that's how you wind up with lung cancer. And we've all been exposed to it. If you went through the public school system in the 70s, early 80s, we've all been exposed to it.
Well, my understanding is a lot of brake pads are made out of asbestos, and asbestos becomes dangerous when it's friable. And so if you've ever been in or around traffic with people braking, you've probably sucked down a fair chunk of asbestos.
Clutch pad is worse. If somebody doesn't know how to drive standard, you can smell that clutch burn. That's the asbestos. I think Eagle Pitcher was the company that made the majority of the brake pads, and they are no longer in existence.
Good times. I love it when people go out of business, but most lawsuits do settle anyway, so that's not limited to Corning. It's 98% of lawsuits settle. The only 2% that don't settle are either $1 million lawsuits or complete losers, like Shirley DeCastro.
I was fucking with you, Jesus! I was waiting to get that in there.
Yeah.
So we'll jump back because we really didn't talk much about the self-censorship issue.
Yeah.
You said you lost respect for me when I let Shiz and Dogtective, I guess, talk to me the way they talk to me, or because I accepted their perspective on the argument, which we went tangential and all that stuff. I'm trying to understand. So if I don't practice some sort of self-censorship where I curb my use of the word fag, which to me, the word fag growing up, I tried to make this point to them. I think it kind of fell on deaf ears. What the word fag means to Shiz and Dogtective isn't even close to what it means to me. Like, that was a word I threw around as a young teenager growing up. you did with your buddies, because you were indicating that they were on the weak side. It really had nothing to do with sexuality. It had to do with, you know, maybe you're slightly effeminate, or maybe you're a little too weak. Maybe you shouldn't play tackle football without the pads on. Maybe you should have a helmet when you ride your bicycle. I don't, you know, we would flip fag on that one. Gay was the word you couldn't say when I was growing up. People would lose their minds over that shit. So I've known, you know, because I don't think we're fairly close in age, Merb, but at 56, my age, you know, I've seen words change in the gasp factor, the severity they hold when you say them. You couldn't say the C word in front of a female when I was younger. You'd get cracked in the mouth instantly. And if the woman didn't hit you, some guy would, just on principle, or, you know, doing the white knighting thing. So if I want to figure out what's going on, if I want to have conversations, there are going to have to be times where I figure out what word can I use instead of this word, because this word's obviously pushing them into an irrational place, which is going to make the conversation worthless for me, for everybody.
If you're looking for a response, my response would be, I lost respect for you because you had nothing to lose. They had no power over you. And then you gave them the power over you to curb the word choice. I understood the argument you were making, that it didn't mean what they thought it meant. But my argument to that is still, they don't care. They're not arguing from a position of logic. They don't care how logical you are in response to them. They are exercising their power over you. You are letting them exercise their power over you. You can be unapologetic about it and say, look, you know, I understand that you want to be offended by it, and that's great, but you don't get to control the words that I use. Right. And that's where I came from. And you know, I'm not backing down off that. I had assumed, as controversial as you are, as not necessarily accommodating as you are, that you would have you'd have stuck up on that, but you didn't. And you know, no one is perfect. So you know, I am not perfect, and I don't hold you to a standard of perfection. But it changed who I thought you were. I thought you were different. Okay. I had given you a little more sack, apparently.
I'm not a hanger, dude. The other part's got the exercise. Right. I do have sack. I think you're right, though. I don't have as much sack as you may have assumed I had, and I'm willing to sacrifice a little of the sackiness, so to say, in order to facilitate a conversation where understanding can happen. One of the great things that happened in the conversation we're having today is right in the beginning, like a true philosopher would, and maybe that follows through in the legal profession. And I think it is a product of your legal training. You define terms right off the bat.
Well, I want to make sure that we're both talking about the same thing. So let me since I have insulted you, let me praise you. One of the things that I do
you didn't
really
insult
like
me,
about you,
but you can praise me. Go ahead.
Is that you're an honest debater. I think that you are the kind of guy who, if you are wrong, you'll be like, oh, okay, I was wrong on that, and you'll back away, and then you'll move forward again. That's another reason why I like Josh Stone Vet. He's an honest debater. When he was wrong about blue bacon, what I really appreciate about people is when they have the fucking balls to say I was wrong, and a lot of people can't do that, and that is the one unforgivable sin for me. If you come into my house, into my Discord, and if you're going to be disingenuous and you're going to like try to backtrack and say I didn't say that or whatever, I mean, I don't have time. I don't have time for that. So You seem to be an honest person, an honest debater, and I appreciate that about you.
I do, and I'll be honest about it too. There are times when I know I'm wrong, but I don't. I don't always give up. I don't always give in to being wrong, even when I know I'm wrong. I do eventually, but there are times when I know I'm wrong, and I should just be honest about it, and I don't. I'm
not jerking off under the table right now, by the way.
I didn't think you were. I thought that was a rooster. Little pecker.
Uh-huh.
No, I lost my fucking line of thought. Yeah, I'm not. I appreciate the fact that you recognize that about me. I think Josh is actually a lot better about it than I am. But I do. I'm willing.
He's also better looking than you.
Oh my God, absolutely. I'm a yellow circle with black writing on it. He's a fucking U.S. Marine. So while we're on your unbearded picture, Merb, I don't know about that. You look the beard puts a lot of years on you. You look like an older man with the beard.
Yeah. There was a long time where so I wasn't an attorney for a long time, and when I finally decided to become an attorney, I figured I should play the part. I should look the part. And so I wore glasses. I don't really need glasses, but I wore glasses. Had the haircut tight. Wore a suit, necktie every day. Clean shaven every day. All the whole nine, right? And then eventually I was like, I don't need to do this anymore, because I have my own clients. I have my own practice. I have the respect of the attorney, the law firms that I also do work for. And I was like, okay, I actually get to be me, and the real me is a guy who grew up, without much money, working manual labor jobs, and working around a bunch of guys who look like this, So this is me. The Hawaiian shirts are novel. No one I knew did those, but I happen to love them.
So the hillbilly in the hillbilly look in the Hawaiian shirt. The Hawaiian shirt is pure Merb.
That's 100%. Yeah, I just decided I liked Hawaiian shirts one day, and that was a long time ago, and I haven't looked back since. But most of my other shirts, that I buy for myself, that aren't like dress up, they'll be like Western style shirts or just white T-shirts. Because
nice.
Keep it simple, keep it stupid.
I'm a huge fan of the Henley. I like the 3-button Henley. I fucking love those shirts. I always have. I'll take that over a T-shirt any day of the week. And like you said, I'm not interested in being a billboard for some corporate entity. And I'm definitely
Mission 22. Go ahead. And
Mission 22. They're not a corporate entity though. They're a charity.
Well, they're a corporation. They're a 501c3 corporation.
Yeah, not for profit though.
Yeah.
Cool.
Somebody's making profit off it, though. I mean, I have never seen charity yet where somebody wasn't making money. I have a client that has 3 charities and a lot of properties, 2 planes, blah blah blah. Right. So yeah, I mean, I've never seen a poor person who's running a charity. That's for sure.
That is true.
Apparently, I was an adult film star in the 90s. Good times, good times. Thanks, John Clark.
Bow, bow.
My very small penis would prevent me from doing that, unfortunately.
I don't believe that, Merb.
It's more like an innie than an outie.
I think that's a disinformation campaign, and I think you're referencing your belly button, not your penis.
I would never lie. I'm an officer of the court, sir.
I don't know. I think I may have caught you in 1 or 2 lies.
Oof, you and Dan.
Not caught you out, but just caught where, or maybe they were just misstatements of fact, or maybe I'm not telling the truth. It's hard to tell anymore.
You and Dan. I'm still waiting for Dan to take me up on my offer.
Oh my God. He's got a Gulfstream jet, dude. He could be there in a minute. You could literally walk out your door one morning on the way to work and literally have to drop your briefcase and unzip your fly. He could be there, dude.
I number one, I would do that. I would allow him to suck my dick. But the like, you could tell. Like, I know you could probably tell because you've been in finance, you've been around people with actual money. I have people. It takes people with money to be able to afford an attorney, generally speaking, and you know when someone has money and when they don't have money. And Dan doesn't have money. Like, I haven't watched this shit. I've only seen like the clips that you've put up, and every once in a while somebody will like throw something up in my Discord. I think a couple times they put up a Dan video. He's so fucking boring that no one ever actually really throws his shit up in my Discord though. But he doesn't have money. Like, he doesn't have money. He's never had money. You could tell. He doesn't rock the equipment that, I mean, if this is his shit, like, okay, so if you have money,
right,
and you're not, and it's passive income, like if you have money and it's just all investment money coming in, you don't have to do anything, then normally that would be like inherited or something like that. Because if you're the kind of person who's going to build up wealth to the point where you have that much passive income coming in, you've got your fingers in pie still. You've still got shit going on.
Right.
So you wouldn't have all day, every day to sit in front of a computer unless it's inherited. If it was inherited, then you wouldn't be managing it properly. So you wouldn't have a shitty, tiny one-room council house. You wouldn't have a shitty camera. You wouldn't have a shitty computer that couldn't. You'd have 4K. You'd have the high end. You'd have the high end gear. If this is your passion, if this is what you're doing, you would like Lauren De Laguna. She has money,
right?
You know she has money, and it's probably your parents' money, but you know she has money because she has money. She has a fucking producer. She has a high end camera. When you look at where she streams from a fucking house. Probably not an inexpensive house. You could tell she has money. You could tell she came from money. The way she presents herself, the way she thinks and acts and talks. Like, Dan doesn't have fucking a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out of. Like Dan is probably living top ramen to top ramen. He's on the government dole. I guarantee that.
Yeah, it's the whole unraveling of Dan started with. I looked at an old, like one of his original videos, because I was trying to figure out how his dynamic changed as he added people to his, nightly 5-person panel. Because when he started, he was alone by himself. And, the room had this shitty black fucking Bridges of Manhattan wallpaper on it. And I was looking at the video and I'm like, God damn it, that's not a fucking residential door. And then I started looking around the door and I'm like, who has a fucking, armature door close on their fucking bedroom door? Who has that?
People who share a bathroom with their neighbor.
Exactly. So it's a dormitory, it's a hospital, it's not residential fucking housing. And then just by picking at that a little bit and questioning the myth of the Dan wealth, he really started to become defensively unglued. And it got to a point where everything I fucking said about him resulted in a fucking 4-hour answer.
Another thing is his little shitty giveaway, like a $300 this, a $300 that.
Yeah.
Like people with actual money, like $300 is fucking nothing. I'm not rich. I am not rich by any stretch of the imagination. $300 is fucking nothing. Like I could go down and pay for a brand new truck cash today, right now. $300 is nothing. And I'm not rich. I don't have a fucking Gulfstream jet. $300 is nothing. You watch some of these other guys, like YouTubers who have actual money, like Logan Paul, whatever, or these other guys, like they'll do like pranks where they spend like $3,000 to $5,000 because it's fucking nothing.
Right.
And he's over here like a $300 computer giveaway. Like, Jesus H Christ. And thank thank God I am in an income where write-offs matter, and people in the income where they have Gulfstream jets, I haven't met people in that particular, or I haven't like really had a chance to look at their finances when they're in that class. But people in slightly lower classes where they have like $4 million homes, I've seen those people's kinds of shit, and they donate money. They donate money to charities because they need the fucking write-offs.
Right.
And it's not like this penny ante bullshit that he's trying to do. Like, you know, these guys are dropping like $5,000-$10,000 to charity just so they can get a fucking write-off, because they'd pay that money in taxes anyway. So it's just none of it makes sense. Like, it's if you spent any time around anybody with any, like, he's not even middle class. Like, he's not even middle class. He is definitely broke as a joke.
He's definitely not a Gulfstream Learjet guy. I had a buddy in high school whose dad was actually a commodities trader. And not only did they had a Learjet, but he used to, we would meet up once a football season. He went every fucking week, my buddy, with his dad. But during football season, he would take, a different couple of friends. And we literally flew from upstate Albany down to New York or Jersey and went to a fucking Giants game. And then flew home at the end of the fucking game. I mean, I have money. I did well for myself. I'm not fucking rich. I don't have a jet. I can't fly off to fucking watch an NFL game on a Sunday, though I would fucking love to fly to Pittsburgh and, watch every fucking home game for a season. Mm-hmm. I would love to fucking do that, but I don't have that kind of money. But I dropped fucking 10 grand on a 2-week vacation in Hong Kong, which, was absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah. And so here's the difference between like middle class and Dan. That no-nose fucking Irish demon motherfucker, that fat bitch, he flew out to fucking hit it and quit it with shiz, right?
Right.
I'm sure it was a fucking shocking moment when they both saw each other for the first time without a filter. Whoo! Talk about fucking smashed expectations on both ends. But he could fly across the fucking pond to hit it, right?
Right.
Dan's got some snatch over here in the U.S. Has he flown out to hit it? I mean, you can book that shit months out in advance, get it on the off season, whatever, find deal, Travelpedia or whatever. You could stay with her. You don't have to fucking fork it out for a hotel room or shit. She can pick you up from the airport. You guys can have your top ramen at her place. Like, you don't have to spend a shit ton of money. And he still ain't done it yet. So that's fucking broke. That dude's broke.
Yeah. He's got heart troubles, though. He can't. All right, so that excuse is off the fucking table now. I'm waiting for the next excuse.
If he had money, he wouldn't have heart troubles.
Right.
Like rich guys can afford rich doctors who could fucking make shit happen.
Right.
Like you see a president with heart trouble? I mean, they managed, real doctors with real money managed to do some real shit. And if you are I have my own private jet, if you're in that class of people, then you've got some good doctors. You're not in the national healthcare system for England getting just the standard treatment of anybody else. You're flying places to get the best treatment. You're flying to New York to get those top end doctors. You're flying to Los Angeles to get the top end doctors. You're going places to get like the best of the best treatment, and you don't end up squeaking in a fucking hospital for weeks.
Weeks? He was in there for fucking months.
but you don't sit there squeaking for a week. So if you're in there for months, shit's real wrong.
Right.
Shit's real wrong.
Seems more of a mental health issue than a heart issue.
And this is like the ultimate reality. Men with money don't end up with Beccas.
No, they end up with a 20-something.
Men with money end up with fucking hot pieces of ass. Like, I know one of the attorneys that I work with, he's not super rich. He's like, I own a multi-million-dollar home rich, but he's not super rich. And he's ugly as shit.
Yeah.
And he has a fairly attractive younger woman that he's dating. And she's a lot better looking than Becca. Just saying, like, he's not even, I have my own private jet rich. So there you go.
I honestly think that Becca might just be a beard.
I don't know. I haven't watched enough. The only bits that I've seen are the bits that you've put up, and normally you lose interest so fast in when you have it playing that, and I zone out, honestly, when they start talking, because there's all these dead spots and awkward additions, and it's like, this is just fucking cringe. Like, I can kind of understand it for the people who love like really cringy shit. That's not really me. I'm not a big cringe fan, but Jesus Christ, like, I don't know how you manage. I don't know how anybody manages to watch it. Like, and they're streamed for like 5-6 hours.
I can't watch. It's been months since I've watched a whole broadcast by them. What I'm very thankful for now is I have a group that, is willing to fucking watch their shit, or to, like, relay race it. I got hour number 1, I got hour number 2, and then they'll just give me time markers and subjects, and then I can do more of a synoptic review and pull some shit out and, throw punches from there. I have staff now, bro. I have staff.
That's like 5 or 6 views for each video for him, and he still can't manage to get decent watches. That's crazy.
I know, it's, dude. He popped when Chili named a specific video of his in the lawsuit back in middle March, and he got a little pop off that, and he got close to 1,000 subscribers off that. I was pretty sure at that point in time he started buying subs, because all of a sudden, he was coming around and hanging out at my broadcast, and at that time I was putting the invite up and just letting anybody come up that wanted to come up and talk. And Hank was showing up every day. Poor Hank can't get a fucking complete sentence out of his mouth now. And then Dan would show up a little bit, and then as Dan was picking up subs and he got past me at like 700, where I've been stuck at for months, but I don't fucking care. He goes, "Come on, old man, get caught up." And I'm like, I don't fucking give a shit. I'm not in this for. And then that was when I realized that he was really about trying to get monetized. And then I was like, why does a fucking rich guy, what is a rich European who supposedly lives in, the fucking family mansion, why do you need to get monetized on fucking YouTube?
The family mansion where he has to share a fucking bathroom with someone?
Right, exactly. Well, apparently the family fell on hard times.
Hard times.
Right. And the mansion was sold and it was turned into a school. This is the explanation for the rooms. That they were then converted to dormitory style to get up to code for the school to operate. And then Dan came along after less than 13 years in the military on a military paycheck. Dan came along and somehow had the money to buy back the family mansion and property that was lost generations ago.
But not the money to refurbish it and restore it back to its original glory and grandeur.
No,
right.
It's still got fire doors and you know, a 1972 college dormitory feel to it.
Because if you have Lear jet money or Gulfstream jet money,
Right.
you have the money to fucking redo the interior, redecorate it, and all that other fun stuff. And then not just have like flags hanging on the wall.
Right. Which then I had heard a rumor that he was a member of a Welsh separatist group, and he vehemently hates the fucking English government. Which, you know, if your people have been enslaved for the past 600 years, I guess you would hate the government that fucking stepped on your neck too. But I just mentioned that I had heard that, and then somehow they wound up keying on the flag and saying that because of the flag, I was accusing Dan of being a fucking separatist. And I'm like, I never mentioned that fucking flag at all. I said I heard a rumor. Like their listening comprehension skills are fucking really, really bad. Really bad.
Probably not. Disingenuous people will often reframe arguments as straw men in order to tear them down easier. And you are being charitable because you wouldn't do it. And you say, oh, well, they must have just misheard or misunderstood. No, it's intentional.
I haven't heard them argue an argument that wasn't reframed.
Right. Because they don't have an answer for it. That's why. Right. You're not wrong, but I'm going to argue something else entirely just so I could say you're wrong and I'm right.
And if you can get Dan into a long enough argument and you let him do that reframe, which I call step left, he'll eventually come full circle and argue against his original point. It's crazy with him.
He is not what I like to call bright.
Dim wit would be an exaggeration.
I think Josh called him a waterhead.
He did, because I jumped all over that. Josh is fucking great, man, because like I'm just thumping on the guy. Like I literally feel like I sneak into Dan's camp and I blow up a building, and then a day or two later Josh will come in like and forensically reconstruct shit and be like, oh, okay, so this is what was, and Dan did some bullshit about, you know, recently, and I think it has more to do with how safe cars have become, but guns have become, it's always been cars in the US that were the leading cause of teenage deaths. And recently it's been replaced with guns are the cause.
I think you have to play really fast and loose with the statistics. You have to really cherry pick specific age ranges and do all sorts of shenanigans in order to make that happen. So,
and that's what Josh was explaining, and he did it really well. And then to analogize it, he looked at, you know, of course, Josh came up with the question, well, if guns are killing teens in the U.S., leading cause, what's the leading cause of death in Wales for teenagers? And apparently, according to Josh's research, it turns out to be waterheadedness. And
oh, Jesus Christ.
It's genetic defect and, you know, waterheadedness. But then Josh poses the fucking perfect question. Okay, so these Welsh waterheads are committing suicide, but they can't have guns. So what are they doing? Beating themselves to death with a rock?
I don't know. That's sad. That's sad. It's sad that anyone would feel the need to take their own life. I don't celebrate death, but that music video with straight faced, is this guy? You can't tell me if this guy is Down syndrome or just Welsh. You can't. No one can identify this. Just straight face. Just like I'm not even joking. Like I can't tell Down syndrome or just Welsh. I can't tell. That was hilarious.
And it's kind of subtle, and he only did it once. I wish he had reinforced it by repeating it 2 or 3 more times. But he actually pointed out the fact that the minority peoples in the video looked less water-headed than the native Caucasians did.
They look normal. Yeah.
Right.
It's fucking terrible. We're going to hell. You know that, right?
I'm not. I believe that Jesus Christ died for the sins of the world. So
All
I'm going to heaven, bro.
Well, you know, I won't tell you you're wrong.
I'm glad that you won't do that. I wish you would jump on the bus and ride on in for the big victory with us.
Well, here's the problem. The problem is I can't believe. You can't make yourself believe something.
Right.
Either you believe it or you don't.
Right.
And I can't make myself believe. I'm not going to shit over anybody for religion. I think religion serves a very valuable purpose in society, because there's a lot of people out there like Dan who can't figure shit out for themselves. They can't figure out right from wrong, and so they need like a rigid system to be like, okay, in this situation you have to do X, and you just do X every time and you'll be all right. And that, I think that's really helpful for society, because you got to remember that if the average IQ in your society is 100, that means that half of society is below that.
Right.
And you know, it's something like 15% of the population has an 85 IQ or less, and it gets pretty scary how really fucking stupid people get at that kind of range. Even though you think they're functional, they look like they're functional. They're walking, they're talking, they're able to like bank, use their ATM card and buy shit and drive cars and stuff, and then like you realize that they have terrible decision making skills. So I think religion has a huge amount of value. Not just in the teaching people the golden rule, but in providing like a cultural fabric for society. It's sad that we as a society have lost that. But at the end of the day, I've read the Bible 6 times cover to cover, plus, God knows how many times I've read it, just spot here and there and whatever for Bible study. And there's just way too many things that I'm like, it doesn't make sense. And the problem becomes if there's errors in the Bible, what isn't an error? If it's either it's the word of God and it's perfect, but there's errors, which means, so I'm not going to beat anybody to death over it, but I can't.
Right.
So
you've read it 6 times through?
Cover to cover, yeah.
I find that amazing, bro.
Why?
Because most people don't put that kind of effort into anything.
Well, not to toot my own horn. Reading is fairly easy for me. I read fast, and I did. I tried for a long time. I tried to believe. In doing that, I took a couple classes in college. I took the Bible as literature in college. I took another one where I had to read the Bible. So 2 of those were like in college, and then the rest were just like growing up. So yeah. But it was all wasted time, I guess, at the end.
I don't know, because I don't know if you can read the Bible 6 times and not have it had an impact on you, whether you're aware of it or not. I don't think I think if you read the Iliad 6 times cover to cover, it's going to have an impact on the way you think and the way you look at things.
Well, my underlying theory, my hypothesis is that humans are expressions of genes in their environment, and as part of that, Europeans express their genes in the environment of Europe in such a way as to create religion, Christianity, and that Christianity had an effect on Europeans, and Europeans had it's it's hard to explain it. It's like one of those situations where each animal benefits from the other.
Right.
Humans created specifically European genetics created the church, and the church influenced European genetics. We kind of, through the expression of our genes, we value certain things, we value certain principles, and the church is a reflection of that. But then the church also has gone through and reinforced certain things and pushed our various political organizations in a way that it weeded out genetics expressions of genes that didn't fit with that. So like there's a very low incidence of homicide, murder in European people. As a people, we don't tend to murder. I mean, we're great at war, but we don't tend to murder. And that's, I guess it'd be that's due to we created the church reinforced itself back in on us, and then we killed the murderers. And we removed their genes from the gene pool. We're very effective at it.
Yeah.
And that reduced the amount of murders. It like cleaned the genes kind of thing. And different peoples, different dispersed peoples around the world came up with different religions. Like Confucianism came out of Asia, and Buddhism came out of, I think, areas of India and then moved into Asia. But it was kind of a reflection. The Sikh religion, the Hindu religion, they're a reflection of the people, and so it's what their genes express, and it also goes back through and it affects who gets to make it a babies, who gets to prosper, and so it kind of they reinforce it on themselves, and everybody kind of goes their different way.
Are you familiar with G.K. Chesterton?
The name sounds familiar, but I'm horrible with names.
He's an author. I believe he was a Brit, but he wrote a book called Heretics, and there's a chapter in it that is called The Three Great Virtues, and he covers faith, hope, and charity. I think you would be interested in reading that. It's a really thought-provoking piece that it's short too. It's not really long. It's a chapter of a book, but it covers the emergence of Christianity out of paganism at a time when neo-paganism was on the rise in Europe. And Chesterton makes a great argument why Europe can't return to paganism. It's just not possible. And why Christianity rose, and specifically these three virtues, faith, hope, and charity, rose out of a deficient need in the highly, highly rational European paganism.
But back to your argument that just having read the Bible 6 times would have had an effect on me. I think generally speaking, Western culture, just the fact that the church has been prominent for so long, the people of my generation anyway are very, the church was waning when I was young, but it was still fairly powerful. And by the church I mean U.S. Protestant mostly, but it was really, society really reflected the ideals of the church. Like as even the non-practicing, even the non-religious would still, you shouldn't be greedy, you shouldn't steal, you shouldn't kill, you shouldn't covet, yada yada, and so those, it's. I'm not going to say that it was reading the Bible that would have instilled those things in me, those ideas, but society itself, kind of at that point reflected it, the religion. So it's going to be interesting to see what society looks like going forward, because there is really no unifying kind of religion. And even like Catholicism, like, you know, the Pope is like pro-gay, the churches are all pro-gay, and that's fine, like, but that's not Christianity. Like, there's like ripping chapters out of the Bible, like, we don't need this anymore. Like, our God is evolving. This thing that was a sin that you should have been killed for before, it's all good now. He was joking. So it'll be interesting to see how society reacts to the loss of religious values.
I think we're kind of seeing it now.
Oh, I think so too. I definitely think so too.
I think one of the main messages in the Old and New Testament that people just completely miss is that there is a natural use for things, and when you deviate, the more deviation from the natural use, which is the direction of perversion, to not use naturally is to pervert the natural use. As you deviate from that natural use, you get lost in the meaning of things and what things are for, and things start to get really chaotic, which adds an element of brutality back into the overarching system. I think that's one of the major warnings that's in Scripture, and it's a warning that should probably be heeded, but we have blinders on to it currently. And, you know, it's either a line that's going to, you know, stretch out in a linear fashion infinitely, you know, a course to run down, or it's a pendulum that's going to kick back and, you know, knock a lot of fucking shit down.
Well, there's a lot of religions have gone away. There's been a lot of religions in the world. A lot of those religions have gone away. And it wouldn't surprise me if we replaced Christianity with other religions. I mean, we see kind of the beginnings of it. We have very much faith-based about the role of LGBTQ and all that fun stuff. And again, I don't really fucking care. I'm not religious either way. An interesting thought though, and this has prompted some comments that I've made in the past, is, can we look at society now versus society, let's say in 1940, or let's say 1950, post-war, the Leave It to Beaver era versus now? Are we better off? I understand, we have computers, we have technology, we can communicate all around the world, we have the knowledge of the universe at our fingertips, but are we better off now? Were things better back in the Andy Griffith Leave It to Beaver era, or are they better now? And when I say are things better now, like, we're animals, I think we're pretty basic. We want to be able to prosper, and by prosper, have enough stuff so that we can have families and feel successful, feel rewarded for what we've done in society. Are we better off now? Are we able to achieve the things that we need as animals to live in a good environment, to have little bebés, to do all the things that forever have defined us as a species? And I would posit that we're not better off now, and things are going in a not better off direction.
I wouldn't 100% agree with that, but in a lot of aspects, I would agree. And I do think that the cause of that is the deviation from the natural use of things.
I don't know if it's as simple as just deviating from the natural use of things. I mean, you have your idea of what the natural use of something is, but what really is the natural use of something? I look at things more just pure biology, like if it was a fish tank, what do fish want? Fish want a clean environment. They want enough room to swim.
Mhm.
They want a mate to be able to mate with. They want enough food, and they need some challenge in their existence in order to really prosper. That's what people are too. You know, we are just really evolved fish. I know maybe as a religious person you might not think that, but you know, oh, I got science, and science says that we're just basically really evolved fish. And it's really sad. I think it is worse than maybe you think it is, because like if you look at it, young men aren't getting into relationships. It's something. There's some ridiculously low number of men who have partners. It's very low. There's a minority of men that have the majority of access to women, and women have replaced men with the government and with jobs. The "I don't need no man" thing, and it's not making women happy, and it's not making young men happy. And one concern that I have is, you know, what is going to happen when one day all these very unhappy people rise up to I mean, like we've seen the violent riots in over the deaths of various people, and you know, those violent riots, those can happen for a variety of reasons, and these were fairly small and contained. But you know, if things get bad enough, it could get really bad.
Yeah. The thing that weirds me out the most about the violent excuse me, the violent riots we've seen, you know, in the recent past, is in the end they all seem to break down to stealing shit.
Well, so you can't fix society with a riot. So I mean, it's just going to be violence and theft and things like that. That's all you can really do with a riot, unless it comes to the point where you overthrow the government and install new leadership.
Right.
So it's, I mean, your options of what the end result of the riot is going to be. It's going to be vandalism, theft, and violence. That's what you got. But when you have like a majority of the young men of a country rising up in just general disgust at not being able to do the things that as animals they want to do, find a mate, raise a family, be able to support that family, they can't do that. Things could get really stupid. Okay.
Yeah, and the phenomenon that you're pointing out was identified, I think, almost 10 years ago in Japan at first.
Yeah.
It had hit Asia first, and then I think it's just a dissatisfaction or a disgruntlement that maybe there's not enough opportunity to prosper in the world today.
It's limited, and I think one of the real big reasons is this push that society has to push young women into the job market. Women want, this is a general rule, there are exceptions to the rule. Yes, I'm generalizing, but women want men who are more financially secure than they are. That's what women look for. Women want to date up and marry up in the economic strata. You know, men want looks. Men want all the evidence of being young and fertile. Women want stability of the economic variety. They want a fat wallet. And because women get pushed out into the job market, and because our society really rewards the kinds of things that women do, we reward women personalities. Our schools are really designed around the way women think and learn and interact. And, if boys act up too much like boys, they're going to get Ritalin or whatever to calm them down, to make sure that they're nice and pliable. We don't want snakes and snails and puppy dog tails. We want sugar and spice and everything nice. And that progresses up into the working environment where the HR system and things like that, it really tends to prefer women, and women have preference in hiring and things like that. And so at the end of the day, you have women who make more money than men on average. Young women tend to make more money than young men. And so the young men go out there into the dating field, and in general, your mileage may vary. This is a generalization, not an absolute bar, but in general, men aren't going to be able to find women who they're eligible for. So you get baby daddies all over the place. I mean, family law, I deal with baby daddies all the time, because
right.
Women will have sex and all that other fun stuff, but it's not a marriage issue, because guy doesn't make his enough money, and it just gets stupid, and things are broken, and young men are showing a lot of dissatisfaction, and eventually the video games and the weed aren't going to cover for it. And I still think things are going to get ugly.
Well, how do you see things getting ugly? Like women taking over? Because men are smoking weed and playing video games?
No, eventually there are some pendulums in society. There are some pendulums. There are some things that do rebound on themselves, and you push too much in one direction on societal issues, there will be pushback in the other direction. And if that pushback gains enough speed, then it will build on itself and snowball. And if you start telling, if someone comes along and starts telling young men that, all we need to do to get you the American dream, Al Bundy he was a shoe salesman. Obviously he's a mythical figure, but just roll with me. Al Bundy was a shoe salesman, and he was able to have a 4-bedroom house, or maybe it was a 3-bedroom house, I don't remember, with a garage, and his wife was able to stay at home and not work, and the government took that away from you. So if we just tear down society and rebuild it, then you can have all these things that you've been wanting. And I'm not phrasing it well, because I'm not the guy who's going to start that. I'm not the guy who wants it. I'm a guy who's doing okay in the system. I've got a wife and a house and all that other fun stuff. But it's the young men out there today who I think are going to, you see a lot of it going on in social media. You see a lot of, there's that men going their own way. What is that? There's a whole movement of young men who are like pushing back on it. There's the wife tourist industry, like Floyd Wallace was doing, going overseas to try to find that American dream, that dream wife.
Bro, you know what happens to guys that do that shit that Floyd Wallace did? They wind up getting taken for half their shit. Not that
Probably.
Floyd Wallace doesn't really have to worry about that, because he's,
half of what?
Half of
nothing is nothing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Half of my egg sandwich. When I watched the Kate at Masshole Report did a little coverage of his videos, and I kind of experienced it synoptically. I've had people throw that at me because my wife is Filipino. I met my wife's older sister, who was my age, and she was in Canada. I was in the US. She's the one that introduced me. We were working, we had a business project together. And as it was wrapping up, she was like, hey, I wanted to ask if you're seeing anyone, if you're single. And I was like, I wasn't really interested in her. So I was kind of trying to soft pedal a decline as well as I could. And she just kind of at one point blurted out, I'd really like to introduce you to my sister. And I was like, okay. And then that happened. I think one thing guys miss, not so much in the Western culture, but if you were interested in a more traditional husband and wife situation, Asian women are still, for the most part, because they're behind the curve of modernization. You need an introduction. If you do what Floyd Wallace did and you just go over there and think in a month, in a year, not even you need to be over there longer than a fucking year. You're not going to meet what you're looking for. You're going to meet a worse version of what you ran from in the West.
You could probably meet hookers.
Right. You're not so much hookers. You're meeting women who are expert at setting men up to take their shit from them. You're not the first. This woman's in her mid-30s. You're 40-something. You think you found this girl who's only been with one or two guys, and they're like, bullshit, dude. Bullshit.
Does that even happen anymore?
Right. This chick has taken 5 fucking guys before you for half of their shit.
The previous night.
Right. No, but I mean, she's probably made the trip to America and been fucking married, or been to England and been fucking married, ran through the rigmarole, did the divorce, and now she's back home. Why do you think there's 5 fucking brothers with her? Because the brothers are the guys that, once they find out you don't have any real wealth, the 5 brothers are the guys that just push you out of the fucking picture. Hey, my sister's not fucking interested anymore. If you don't follow the cultural norms in the East, if you don't get an introduction, if you meet a girl in a bar or on the street, you might as well put all your shit in a fucking car and drive off a cliff. You got a better chance of fucking surviving.
Are they going to take your kidney?
It's dude, that's not out of the fucking question. I mean, it would be rare that it happened, but it's not absolutely out of the question. Floyd Wallace will never get what he's looking for in Thailand or the Philippines. He will get divested of the majority of his assets, though.
But see, will Floyd be able to get what he's looking for in the U.S.? Is he going to be able to find the kind of gal he's looking for in the U.S.? That's the problem. Like, I think Floyd has probably spent time looking for the kind of gal he wants in the U.S., and he probably doesn't qualify for the kind of gal he wants in the U.S. Probably because there's not a lot of gals who don't make the kind of money
that he needs to survive,
that would be interested in him,
right.
There's a huge disparity in the amount of money that black women make. Black women make more money than black men, and because black women push education really hard. They tend to get government jobs, and black men have other issues going on, and so it's really hard for someone like Floyd Wallace to find that kind of gal. And I don't like to shit on Floyd. I don't really like to shit on much on anyone if they don't really deserve it. And I don't necessarily think Floyd deserves it. I understand people get very emotionally upset over Floyd going out there and like doing quick hands, but he's not putting anybody in danger but himself. And I don't see that as any different than him like hang gliding or something like that. If he wants to put himself at risk, great. He could do that. He's almost a full-grown man. But I do feel bad for the man that he's not able to find, love, at least, or the marrying kind. Because, people want to shit on him, but he allegedly was looking for a wife. And, what's wrong with that? He's not out there hoeing around, presumably, if he's looking for a wife. Good for him. I hope he finds one. I hope he finds a wife. I hope he gets happily married, has little baby Floyd Wallace's, and lives a happy, long, and prosperous life.
I would hope that for him too, but the way he behaves in society, I just don't think he's going to be able to achieve that. And I've seen some Floyd videos, and the way the hands in the pocket and the hands behind the back, that boy's going to catch a bullet one day. If he doesn't quit bullshitting around the way he does, he's going to catch a bullet.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I'm not a I can't tell the future. I'm not psychic. I am psychotic sometimes, I've been told, but I'm not psychic, and maybe he will, maybe he won't. But there's guys out there who climb cliff faces without ropes.
Yep.
And
Yep.
you're going to say eventually you're going to fall. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. But they understand the risks they're taking, and they're making that choice. It's their choice to make. The only real issue that I would have is that he might be baiting a cop into shooting him. Now you're going to say that that's like an unforgivable sin, but I'm going to say, like, if a cop is that itchy on the trigger finger that he actually does shoot Floyd, I'm not entirely sure that I feel a lot of sympathy for that cop. Like, I would love to see cops have a lot more patience with people and a lot less itchy trigger fingers. Wait till you see the gun. And does that put cops in a bad position? Sure. Yeah. But number one, they get paid to do it. Number two, they have the equipment for it, and it's a high risk job. If you can't handle that, if you're going to be plugging fools before you are absolutely sure that they have a weapon and or they're a threat, then it's not the job for you. If you're not willing to run into a burning building, don't be a fireman. Is really the long and the short of it.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Sorry.
I know you're a back the blue guy, and I'm not. The cops make mistakes all the fucking time.
Yeah, they're
human. They're
Yeah,
necessary evil, but I'm not going to back them when they make a mistake. I'm going to shit down their neck if they make a mistake, because with the high paychecks that they get, with the power that they get, there is accountability that they need to have. And if they're not capable of that, then fuck them. Get them the fuck out of there. Let's get someone in there that can handle it, that is worth the money, that doesn't abuse the power, and that is capable and accountable.
I definitely agree with that. I don't know if I'm a back the blue guy.
You're a back the blue guy. I've watched you don't like it when people shit on cops.
I don't like it when people shit on people for no reason.
There's a reason to shit on cops.
Okay. They are essential, and they are vital.
They are. And they're also the people who are going to take your rights away.
Okay. Yep. And there are other people too that have attempted to take my fucking rights away that aren't police officers. There are regular people, regular everyday people who have attempted to take my fucking rights away.
When your rights get violated, it is going to be by a cop. When I'm talking about your constitutional rights, when your rights get violated, it's not going to be by Joe Citizen. It's going to be by a cop. By definition, Joe Citizen cannot violate your rights. Cops can, because cops are an arm of the state. So if your rights are violated, it's a cop that did it. A judge didn't run off the bench to throw you in an arm bar for no reason. A senator didn't run out onto the street to search your wallet for no reason. It's a cop. A cop did it. And at the end of the day, when they do pass laws that, like, you can't have X, like you can't have a gun anymore. Okay, who's going to enforce that? When they go back to some mandates like curfews for COVID or whatever, who's going to enforce that? It's going to be a cop. When they take your rights away, it's going to be cops doing it.
Okay, I get it. I guarantee you this, though. If you took the cops away, I would take your fucking rights as soon as I could take them. And I would be able to.
Okay. Well, I'm not a fighting man. I do have a fair few number of guns that say otherwise.
Okay.
But that's fine. I'm not advocating taking the cops away. I do, however, advocate taking a lot of the authority away from the cops. I do advocate for taking a lot of the authority away from politicians. We have allowed politicians to legislate anything and fucking everything, and we've allowed the cops the right, like, everybody shits on chili, but this whole stop and frisk, the Terry versus Ohio, the cops' right to stop you on reasonable suspicion, and their right to frisk you if they reasonably suspect that you're armed. Well, that is really shitty, and I don't think that's at all what the Constitution, what the framers intended, because they didn't say anything about, if you have reasonable suspicion. You look for reasonable suspicion in the Constitution. It's not there. There is a reasonableness requirement in the Fourth Amendment, but it's not looking for this ability just to grab someone on the fucking street. Because like reasonable suspicion is so fucking easy to prove that unless the cop is a waterhead, he is going to be able to show reasonable suspicion. He walked up to the window and looked in. So I thought he was going to do an armed robbery. He had this thing going on, this vibe. He looked like he might have been holding the gun under his when he was holding up his pants. It looked like he might have been holding a gun there. And he walked up and looked in the window. I thought it was going to be an armed robbery. Well, you just gave him two facts to support your suspicion. You got articulated facts and you've got suspicion. All it takes is a court to say, well, yeah, that sounds pretty reasonable. And bada boom, bada bing, your rights are fucking violated. Thanks. Thank you so very much. And it doesn't matter in the law. It does not matter one fucking bit how innocent of an explanation that there could have been. The cop can ignore every single fucking innocent explanation for your behavior. Every single one of them. He doesn't have to give any of them any credence.
Yeah, you're right.
In 9 billion innocent explanations, or one, maybe he's fucking looking into that window to do an armed robbery. Reasonable suspicion.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, you're right. I just don't think. I think you have to have a better working alternative to the police before you even consider getting them out of the fucking equation.
I know. So you're that, Mr. Dan. I'm not making that argument, sir.
Oh, I'm sorry.
My argument is to take away some of the authority the police have. If the police have to stop you on probable cause, that's taking away a lot of their probable cause is a lot more tricky. Probable cause, it has to be probable, not just possible, but probable that a crime was committed and probable that you're the one who committed it. And you're going to say, well, you know what? That makes it harder for the cops. Well, fucking good. It's supposed to be hard for the cops. It's supposed to be hard for the state to take your rights away. That's why we have a jury. That's why we have the right to counsel. That's why we have the right to due process. All of these are impediments in the state's way to taking your rights away from you. It's supposed to be fucking hard. That's why they have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt at the end to take your rights away. But as it is right now, it's so fucking easy for them to punish you in that in-between time. You know, the whole, you could beat the rap, but you can't beat the ride. There's a lot of lost freedom betwixt and between them seeing you walk up and look in a window suspiciously, and at the end, when somebody decides that you're not guilty, there's a lot of lost rights. So yeah, I think we should take power away from them.
Okay. I mean, all right, let me lay this out for you. I did take power away from them. You know how I took power away from them?
By not committing crime.
I stopped. It's not committing crime. I stopped fucking around. When I quit drinking, Merb, when I was drinking in my drinking days, I had problems with the cops all the time because I was belligerent and I had a really fucking bad attitude. Thanks for that down chair shot. Appreciate it.
Well, everybody saw that I am actually wearing pants.
A little treat.
Fucking mosquitoes.
A little treat and going for the deep.
Oh, it's fucking thick out here, dude.
Is it? So I was a heavy drinker, man. I drank a lot. I drove when I drank. I fucking, look, you couldn't make a car go fast enough that I didn't want it to go faster when I had a couple drinks in me. And you couldn't find a dude big enough that I wasn't interested in getting into a fucking scrap with him. In fact, the bigger the dude was, the more interested I was. When I quit drinking, I stopped having these fucking problems. All right. So I agree with you. I think it's easy for the police to fucking snatch us up. I agree with you. Something should be done about that.
Yep.
But I think it's I don't care what you guys do. I don't care what you guys do. I think it's my responsibility that I act in a way that I'm not going to attract their fucking attention to me. And I know you're going to argue and say, well, you know, it doesn't matter. They shouldn't have the. I kind of like that they do have the ability to snatch up dickheads, because I was a dangerous fucking dickhead, Merb. I just wanted to fight shit, and I wanted to drive fucking cars while I was drunk. I want the police to have the ability to get a guy like me when I was that way under wraps as fast as fucking possible, because I'm absolutely lucky I never fucking killed anyone. I'm absolutely lucky didn't find myself in a situation that Skeptic found himself in. I have a lot of empathy for Skeptic and the situation he went through, because I was probably even more fucked up than Skeptic was when that tragedy happened in his life. And luckily I never fucking hurt anyone that I cared about, that was a friend of mine, that was a relative of mine. So I can see it. I think people who are more responsible than me, or have a greater degree of responsibility through their life than I had. When I was at the heyday of making money, I was in my social life, I was completely fucking irresponsible. Completely irresponsible.
Well, in rebuttal, the police should not have any power over you if you have not committed a crime. Crimes should be clear and distinct. We have way too many crimes where the police, like drinking and driving. People don't like it, but I am against making drinking and driving illegal. If you want to make drinking an enhancement to like speeding while drinking, sure, make it an enhancement. But you shouldn't be able to pull someone over because you think they've been drinking. Because I've been pulled over because the cop alleged that he thought I was drinking when I was stone fucking cold sober, and I had the cop lie to my face about it. Like there was one time, I went back when I was in college going to UC Davis. I lived in an apartment complex. There was a party going on at the apartment complex. I had a head cold. I was not at that party. I came out of my apartment to get into my car to go down to the store to get some cough syrup or some kind of medication. I don't remember if I was coughing or if it was just nasal. Anyway, so I get in my car and I back out and I'm pulling out of the apartment parking lot, and the cop sees me and I see the cop, and I'm like, fuck me, I'm not up to this. Jesus fucking Christ, whatever. So I pull out, following all the speed limits, not speeding. We got barn cats, and they're desperate to get at the barn cats right now. Anyway, not speeding or anything, driving completely safe, and he follows me for about 2 miles down the road. I was heading towards a gas station that was down the road a little ways that was still open, and then he finally decides to pull me over. And I'm like, "Why did you pull me over?" He's like, "Oh, I saw you swerve into the gutter. I think you might be drinking." I never fucking swerved into the gutter. Like I'm on my best behavior. What he did is he saw me come out of what he thought was a party. Right. So I don't think, and that's just one situation. But it's like I don't think they should have the right to pull you over, because they should be able to say you broke this law, like objectively, like I saw you do this, you swerved into another lane. Great. Illegal lane change. Oh, with drinking? Sure. There you go. But not just, I think you're drinking. If you haven't broken any laws, they shouldn't preemptively be able to pull you over. It's just a fucking guessing game at that point. They just get to guess. It's just another fucking excuse to pull you over. Another fucking excuse to take your freedom from you. But you're white. I'm white. Believe this or not, our experiences are not the same as a black person's experience. I've never been a black person. I can't speak to it, but I do know that human beings tend to recognize patterns, and human beings tend to judge people based on how they look, how they dress, and the color of their skin. It happens. Yeah. And cops are going to do it too. And if a cop sees a young black man with his pants sagging, doing something, he's going to pay him a lot more attention. You know, in Terry v. Ohio, Terry was black, and I'm not jumping on the whole it was more racism's thing, because Officer McFadden apparently was onto something, because Terry was actually packing heat, or else it wouldn't have gone anywhere. But your experience of being a young hellion out there, and you think you deserved it because you were actually committing crimes. Well, if you're actually committing crimes like speeding or getting into fights, great. The cop doesn't need reasonable suspicion at that point. That's probable cause. But my experience as a middle-aged white man, I don't get looked at sideways by most cops, because they're like, he's not going to be a problem. We don't need to look at him. But other people with different skin tones, different dress patterns, different mannerisms of speaking, they're going to get a lot more attention than I'm going to get. Like, just to put it in context, Chili DeCastro fucking fought with those cops when he was getting arrested. He struggled with them. He was pulling away. He was doing things that if he was Floyd Wallace, he probably would have gotten smacked down hard. Guessing. So these, well, I'm not saying that, you know, every cop who does reasonable suspicion stop is racist. I'm saying that it can and does get used disproportionately against certain people. And if we took away the fucking reasonable suspicion standard and we just had probable cause, we would be down to just people who probably committed crimes. And that would be better. That would be better. And I don't think that police get up every morning and grab a cup of coffee and say, I can't wait to take someone's rights away. But if you give them a tool, they're going to use that tool.
Yeah. I read that same comment too, and I was like, I don't think that's where Merb's going with it.
Yeah, I'm not saying that they think they're taking anybody's rights away, but they are going to use that tool, and they do use that tool, left, right, and center. I can't tell you the number of cases out there that, I mean, just Google reasonable suspicion in Google Scholar, and you'll get thousands and thousands of appellate cases trying to distinguish, you know, when is there reasonable suspicion, when isn't there reasonable suspicion, and it's fucking stupid, and it basically comes down to, is the cop an idiot or not?
To be honest with you, dude, I you know, because I work the club scene, so I see a lot of police civilian interactions. And I don't know, maybe it's just the guys that I'm around. They're very fucking patient with people. Like, they put up with a lot of fucking just dumb fucks getting in their face and talking shit to them for no fucking reason, just to do it.
Well, yeah, I mean, but they're literally supposed to. With great power comes great responsibility. The courts have held in, like, Houston versus Hill, Supreme Court, you know, you need to take a certain amount of criticism. You need to take a certain amount of people expressing their dissatisfaction with the way you handle yourself. And there are a lot of policies out there requiring police to be polite, and that's great, and I'm all for that. But but come what may, they still use reasonable suspicion to stop people. And you cannot tell me that, because, you know, Mark Twain said, you know, there's lies, damn lies, and statistics, but statistics exist. And if you look at the federal crime stats, where they break it down by race, yada yada, right? So I'm sure that cops have a lot more interactions with a certain demographic, and so they probably key in on it. And even if you're a good boy who didn't do nothing, they're going to key in on you more than they would key in on someone like my grandma. They'll key in on you more than they'd key in on my grandma. Why? Because statistically speaking, octogenarian white women tend to commit very few crimes, and they probably have very few reasons to key in on. And so it's just going to enforce itself. And I just don't like cops having the tool where basically it basically comes down to officer discretion. And, you know, officer discretion, anything that leaves that leaves something up to enforcement, up to officer discretion, other than whether or not they're going to arrest you or arrest you for like a misdemeanor or something like that. But any crime that is just comes down to officer discretion. Like if you want to write a crime where like if an officer believes that you are a gang member, then you have to identify, right? That's officer discretion. That would be unconstitutional, probably. In my experience, that would be unconstitutional. But if an officer reasonably articulately believes, and he doesn't even have to prove it to you that crime may be afoot, not even that you committed a crime, but that you may be thinking about committing a crime someday, then he could fucking detain you. How long? How long can he detain you for? Well, until he's done with his fucking investigation. Well, how long's that? It's not 15 minutes like the auditors want to tell you. It's until he's fucking done with his investigation.
Yeah, where'd they get that random fucking number from?
Who knows? Who knows? But it's I guarantee it's wrong.
Yeah.
And I don't know necessarily about quotas for cops. If there are quotas for cops, so the Freeman did a video on this issue where it was improperly framed that the cops were writing tickets for people that were just flat out fraudulent, but it wasn't that. They were the amount of tickets they were writing that were recorded in the actual like justice system pretty much accounts for the number of tickets that they wrote for the race-based system. There's two systems they had to report to for a ticket, and it's because they're looking for racisms. And one is the actual ticket itself that goes to like the Justice Department or wherever. The other one goes to this racial quota database, like that says, you know, who you pulled over, so they can see if you are pulling people over on the basis of their skin color. Well, what cops were doing is they were just entering random shit into that. They weren't actually taking the time to fill that out for whatever reason. But anyway, Freeman comes in and says that, you know, that these cops are doing it for their quotas. And there might be something to that, because there was the reason why this got brought to the attention of this racial justice group that actually did the study was because Internal Affairs had found that they did an investigation of like 4 different cops who were doing these bogus ones that weren't going to the Justice Department, but were just getting reported back to their precinct to show that they were actually doing stops and investigations and things like that. And they were doing that to justify overtime and to get promotions and things like that. So the quotas come down to, you know, are you a good boy cop doing your job? And it's not like Andy Griffith show where, you know, good boy cop doing your job means you don't have someone in jail. You're there, you're a parent, and you can deter the person from committing the crime in the first place. Now being a good boy cop means that you actually write the fucking ticket, you make the arrest, whatever. So anyway, thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
No, I'm digesting what you said, and everybody cheats, man. Everybody cheats. Why when the police and the paperwork and filling out fucking shit, everybody cheats that shit. I have guys that work for me. I have guys that work for me who have worked for me for fucking 10 years. They all were a cash business. They all steal fucking money. They all. I watch them fucking do it. Like they think they're on the sly and shit. I watch them fucking do it. There's nothing you can do about it, because this dude X makes $400 a night, but he's stealing another 150 on top of it. What do? I can't stop him from stealing the fucking money. If I cut his pay, he'll just steal more. If I cut 50 off his pay to get back 50 of the 150 he stole, he's just going to steal 200 next week, because the stealing gets you to the point where you have discretionary spendable money, and that's your fucking lifestyle level. And if you fucking hamper that by cutting pay It just encourages people to, because they have access to fucking cash. It encourages them to steal more to maintain their lifestyle level. So what do you fucking do? You just,
well, with police, they should be on a cash basis. How about that for starters?
right? But
we shouldn't reward them for any quotas. We shouldn't allow them to do. I forget what they call it, but basically they could accuse your money of having been committing a crime. Your money could be, they accuse your money of being criminal, gained from criminal endeavors, and they take your money. They shouldn't be able to do that because money can't commit crimes. If they can't charge you with a crime, they shouldn't be able to take your fucking money. Civil asset forfeiture. Thank you. We should disincentivize them from all that stuff. And we should take those incentives away from them. If we take the incentive away from them to write X number of tickets, you know, if it's just like, you know, if you see someone doing something crazy, give them a ticket. If they're not, then don't. Use your judgment. And, you know, good on you. I would honestly, I'd rather have a cop sleeping in his car than out there like just generating tickets for the sake of fucking generating tickets. Personally.
I agree with that. My example may have been bad because of the money element. I'm not using the element of money with the police. That's the experience I have because, you know, this is the work dynamic I go through. I'll take it back to a different thing. When I was a broker, there's a phenomenon, or was at the time, called cross booking. Microsoft was a NASDAQ stock when I was a broker. So the difference between the bid and the offer price, the price you can sell it at and the price you buy it at, was at times a 75-cent spread, right? Mm-hmm. So if a broker needed to make X amount of money to hit his quota to get his bonus, he's on the phone calling, you know, client Y and saying, hey, man, we got 11% rate of return on Microsoft. I think this would be a good time to sell it. And he gets the agreement from the guy to sell it and take the profit. And then he calls client Z, who's another client of his, and says, hey, I think Microsoft is a good buy here. Mm-hmm. Because he wants to, he's generating a trade just to capture that 75-cent spread. Mm-hmm. So this is every fucking profession. You have doctors who are writing script for fucking oxys. Mm-hmm. Everybody fucking cheats everywhere.
Well, when they're representatives of our government and they could take away your rights, that to me is a little bit different.
It's slightly different.
If I was king of the United States, I would eliminate the stock market. The corporations or entities of the state, I would restrict them to each state that they were incorporated in. I wouldn't allow them to send goods or services across state lines. I would really crack down on corporations, and I would hope that I would be able to bring back the return of the mom and pop shops, so that we could actually have a middle America again. Vote Merbies 2024.
It is one of the it's a it's a coin. It's got a head side and a tail side. Part of the politicians are really getting fucking greedy and they're getting out of control. Mm-hmm. For me, it was all summed up during the Obama administration when Pelosi got in trouble for insider trading on the MasterCard Visa IPO.
You can't do insider. You're not guilty of insider trading if you learn the information as a congressman or senator.
Well, that's not true.
It's not insider trading. Not unless you tell other people about it. Did you tell other people about it?
Insider trading is acting on information that's not public knowledge.
You literally cannot do insider trading if you are a senator or a congressman. They can inside trade. They can act on the knowledge. They might know that they're going to pass Bill X that's going to completely fuck up, I don't know, orange juice futures, and they could buy or sell stock with that knowledge and there's not a goddamn thing anybody could do about it.
But if I traded on that same knowledge, I could get hit for insider trading.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's
because fuck you. That's why.
That's
because the government hates you.
That's the problem. They don't hate me. They just want to stack the deck in their own favor. It's not, they don't hate me. They don't hate me. They have the ability to take advantage, and they want to take advantage for themselves.
If you make the kind of money you talk about, then you're paying out the ass in taxes. If you make the kind of money you're talking about, you fucking pay left, right, and center. And you get fuck all back from the government. You are the government's pay pig.
Yeah.
You take out in services a fraction of what you put in.
Mm-hmm. No, I don't know about that with me, bud, because I get paved roads, I get airports, I get military overseas that, you know.
You don't benefit from the military overseas. Maybe are you high?
Maybe people don't want to fuck with me because I'm an American. Come, dude, you have no idea. You have no idea.
Okay. Well, why don't you go to Iran and be like, yo, bro, I'm an American.
That's why I'm not going to fucking Iran. That's why I'm in Southeast Asia.
Why is the U.S. spread out all over the world? Hundreds, maybe thousands of bases all over the world. We accuse like China and Russia of being imperialistic when we are at their fucking borders and they're not at ours. Why is that? That's fucking crazy to me.
Well, because they can't get to our borders. They would if they could.
Well, yeah, they would if they could because they've done so much to, right? I mean, if you want to buy the propaganda, great. China hasn't done anything to expand its borders in like for fucking ever.
They were trying to conflict with. They had a shots fired conflict on the Indian border.
That one little triangle of contested territory.
Yeah,
that's not to expand. They believe that's been theirs. That's right. That's been theirs.
That's the claim that everyone makes. It's never expansion. It used to be ours. We want it back.
And India believes it's been theirs.
Right.
And who's the other one? Is it Pakistan believes it's been theirs?
Oh, are there three in that conflict?
Yes, there's one little triangle where it's three separate people or three separate nations who believe that they all own. I don't remember who the third one is, but yeah, it's like the U.S. has never had. Germany has never been ours, but we have bases in Germany. England has never been ours, but we have bases in England. So Russia has never invaded the United States, but the United States, weirdly enough, has invaded Russia. So riddle me that. Why? How are they wanting to invade us when they've never invaded us, but we have invaded them?
Was Russia when we invaded them? Were they the Soviet Union or were they still feudal? I think they were still feudal, right?
It was early, and I think maybe the Russian Revolution was ongoing at that time. I don't remember exactly. I just know we landed troops up in Archangels or whatever up there, and we got our asses handed to us, and we went home because if I learned one thing from The Princess Bride, it's never get into a land war in Asia. I wonder if there are any subjects that Merb doesn't know anything about and has to defer to someone else with the knowledge. Yeah, there's all sorts of things. There's all sorts of things that I don't know. Like I am terrible with math. I went through calculus and fuck it. I can't. The only thing I could really do is algebra at this point. Sine, cosine, tangent, all that shit. I don't have a fucking clue anymore. I think Merb is living in the wrong country. Oh yeah. Because facts exist, and I'm not going to be like hiding my head in the sand. Yes, I'm living in the wrong country because I want to live in Russia, apparently, because I acknowledge various things.
I mean, the comment that someone just made where they said they wonder if there's any topics you can't talk about. Mm-hmm. I mean, we're not talking quantum physics here. I
can't talk quantum physics.
I know. We're not getting into like it. It amazes me at how not broad most people's understanding of shit is.
I as a lawyer, I practice law wherever the fuck I have to in order to make the money I need to make to continue to afford the lifestyle to which I've become accustomed. So I have cases from Butte County up north, down to Fresno County down south, San Mateo County in the Bay Area, obviously Placer County, Nevada County, Sierra County, Calaveras County. I mean, I was in Calaveras County last week, and that's a 2-hour-ish drive. And so I have about 4 hours. And during that time, I listened to what I consider to be relatively accurate reports of facts. Facts about the Ukraine war is, generally speaking, what I listen to. And there's the Duran that I listen to, and Brian Berlitic. They're kind of the main ones. And what they do is they take reports, and they like Brian Berlitic is a great example. He takes pro-Ukrainian publications, and he takes the facts from those pro-Ukrainian publications, and they end up admitting all sorts of things that they don't actually pronounce Placer County. Yeah, it's Placer County. So like none of these things that I'm talking about have not been in pro-Ukrainian media, and these aren't really contested facts. Like Ukraine has admitted that they have a huge shortfall in the amount of 155 millimeter ammunition they have, and Ukraine has complained that it seems like Russia has an unlimited amount. And it's, like, I'm not making this stuff. I don't have a dog in the Ukraine-Russia fight. I don't care. My sole concern is that the U.S. is sending gobs of fucking money over there and equipment, etc. That money that could and should be spent here on the U.S. citizens, because we think we're the policemen of the world or whatever, or we want to overthrow Putin or whatever. But Putin hasn't threatened me. Putin hasn't sent warships to our borders. Putin isn't funding a conflict on our border. Putin isn't trying to move NATO up to, well, the Soviets or the Russian version of NATO, which doesn't exist, up to our border. I mean, if you remember, like the Cuban Missile Crisis was Cuba was allied with the USSR, and the USSR was going to place missiles in Cuba with Cuba's, agreement. And the issue with that, the big, this is an oh fuck moment for us, is because if they launched missiles from Cuba, we wouldn't have time to figure out if this is real, if this is fake. We wouldn't have time to figure any of that shit out. Something came out of Cuba, hit the button, we're launching. Now, what we're doing right now, because we're fucking retarded, is we're trying to move NATO. The sole purpose of NATO at this point is to fuck with Russia. And you got to remember, the Soviet Union voluntarily disbanded and gave up land that it didn't have to give up. But right now, we're moving NATO up to the border. And the threat that Russia was facing was Ukraine is close enough to Moscow that it would be about a 6-minute window from a launch in Ukraine to impact in Moscow. And so they don't have time to fuck around and figure it out. And this might shock everybody, but they got more nukes than we do. They got a lot more fucking nukes than we do. And nobody wins if the US and Russia start throwing nukes. Nobody fucking wins. And so I don't have a fucking dog in this fight. I just know that we're being really fucking stupid, getting involved in something that we shouldn't be involved in, sending billions and tens of billions of dollars over there that we don't fucking have. And meanwhile, U.S. infrastructure is crumbling. We have homeless veterans sleeping on the streets. We have tent cities in every fucking city that I've gone to in California. Tent cities of homeless. We've got crumbling infrastructure. I mean, like, why not? If you're gonna print endless amounts of money, why not spend it here at home?
Yeah. Well, you know, the Cuban Missile Crisis too was a response to us putting ICBM's nuclear warheads in Turkey. That's why the Soviets put them in Cuba, because we put them in Turkey.
Yep. And we put systems that can launch nukes in Poland, which is pretty close. Now Finland is part of NATO. Now I'm sure we're going to put nukes in fucking Finland too. Yay! Because because Russia is this huge existential threat that.
No, because it's the I don't think people understand this. Capitalism has to expand, or it's fucked. It doesn't function properly. And in order for capitalism to expand, you have to open new markets. Russia is the next market we want to open up. That's what the conflict's about. That's what the military buildup is about. It's about opening the fucking market.
I'm going to disagree with you on that. We have actively removed them from the market. We've imposed sanctions against them. They can no longer exchange rubles for dollars. They can no longer trade effectively with the West. And that's not something that they did. They were selling gas to Germany, and we blew up that pipeline. We stopped access to that market. We pulled out. I mean, there's all these like Starbucks and McDonald's over there and things like that are no longer Starbucks and McDonald's because we were there. All of our consumer bullshit was there.
Right.
And then we're like, oh, hey, by the way, fuck you, sanction time. And everybody pulled out. And so they're like, okay, well, we'll just make our own.
Right. No, we want the market opened. We want the market opened, unfettered access. That's what we want. That's what we wanted in the Middle East. That's why we went to war in the Middle East.
I don't think we went to war in the Middle East for an unfettered market. We went to war in the Middle East in Iraq. The first time that was over, he wanted to sell oil for gold. We killed who's that Libya guy? Gaddafi. He wanted to start a gold-backed African currency. This whole Ukraine thing has been just fucking disastrous for the United States because everybody's going off the petrodollar. BRICS, Russia is a huge supplier of oil and gas, and now Saudi Arabia has joined BRICS. Iran is a big supplier of oil and natural gas. They've joined BRICS. I mean that means that they don't need to sell oil on the petrodollar or on the U.S. dollar anymore. And that was a great gig for the U.S. I mean, my understanding is that in exchange for security guarantees to Saudi Arabia and selling them Abrams tanks and shit like that, in exchange for that, they would require every purchase to be made in U.S. dollars. And as you're aware, the House kind of wins on selling, like if I don't know, bumfuck nowhere needs to buy gas, they have to buy U.S. dollars to then buy the gas. And so, the House gets their cut of that. So we made money on that deal. And then Saudi Arabia also was supposed to take any excess and use that to buy treasury bonds. And in which basically they were buying up our debt with the profits on that. Well, they're not doing that anymore. And so, I mean, like, we're left with our fucking asses open, just swinging in the breeze, and it's going to come back. I mean, like, none of this is good. This is good.
If the pipeline that Biden stopped the construction of, you can say all the shit you want about Trump, but what Trump got right was gas was $1.74 a fucking gallon when he left office.
Right, and he left office right after issuing some trillion, after shutting the economy down for a year, and then issuing the $600 per whatever bailout, and he also authorized the second bailout. So I mean, he already had like trillions that he was tacking on that Biden was inheriting. And I'm not defending Biden. Biden's a piece of shit. I just want to make sure that everybody's aware that Trump is also a piece of shit. Yeah. Trump is the one who started the shutdowns. Trump is the one who fucked the economy. Trump is the one who printed money to start bailing out the economy. Just because Biden's doing it more, and he's not bailing out the U.S., he's bailing out Ukraine. Just because Biden's doing it more, I mean, it doesn't make it better.
Well, you wouldn't have to bail out Ukraine if oil was still in the low 20s per barrel, because Russia couldn't afford the conflict with the Ukraine.
Oh, they couldn't afford it because, if we hadn't sanctioned them or anything like that, and then they just get around the sanctions.
No, both Russia and Saudi Arabia were on Trump to cut oil production because that's all their economies have. We have what makes the U.S. and China unique in the world is the diversity of the goods we produce. Saudi Arabia,
we produce
Russia,
goods.
Yeah, goods and services. Yeah, bro.
Oh, services. Yeah, maybe, but not goods. We don't produce goods. Nothing tangible.
We don't build cars.
Lego factories.
But that's not building cars.
That's assembling parts.
Oh, okay. All the parts come from where?
Oh, not all. So like the vast bulk of them come from overseas. Mexico produces a lot of the parts that we assemble in the U.S.
Canada, a lot of the parts.
Canada, yeah.
None of the car parts are made in the U.S. It's all.
I didn't say none, but it's a statistically insignificant amount.
Really?
And we don't produce steel anymore. Not on the level. We used to be the steel producing powerhouse. Like, we didn't just assemble cars; we actually built them from the ground up. We used to do that. We don't do that anymore. We assemble cars here.
Right. Well, we tend to weeded out the more toxic shit in building and left that to emerging nations to fuck up their water tables and resources and the rest of it. I mean, you're old enough to remember fucking Love Canal and the rest of the fucking bullshit. I grew up in upstate New York. If you were north of Hoosick Falls on the Hudson River, you didn't eat fucking fish.
Mm-hmm.
You could go fishing and catch fish, but you didn't eat the fucking fish that came out of the water up there.
Mm-hmm.
There's a single paper manufacturer.
Right.
If you were on the Mohawk River and you were within X amount of miles of the GE facility in Schenectady, you could catch fish, but you threw them the fuck back. You didn't eat them because of the fucking PCB contaminations.
Mm-hmm.
So we've let all those toxic things go to other places while we've attempted to at least find more productive, less harmful avenues of employment. We're not a production economy. We haven't been for a long time. We're a service economy.
Right.
And even
services generally is starting to get farmed out from us as well.
Yeah, even that. Gateway Computers. When I was a broker, I had a lot of Gateway stock. I love that fucking company. They tanked their own fucking stock, bought it back off the open market, went private, moved their entire operation from South Dakota to Ireland, because if you were an exporter from Ireland, an Irish-based company, and you exported, you had a 10% corporate tax rate.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I mean, that's where we lost jobs and shit on that. We are starting the service economy is farming shit out. 3/4 of the banking transactions, reconciling bank books, and this bank drew X amount of money. The customers of Bank A drew X amount of money off Bank B, and Bank B, their customers drew slightly less than Bank A. So we're not going to have every dollar fucking transferred back and forth. We're going to figure it out on the books, and we're going to make one, block movement of money. All that shit goes on in the Philippines now. Bank America handles 75% of it. All the banking transactions, they're all subbed out to Bank America, and then Bank America took it over to the Philippines, where they literally pay people fucking $6 a day to do the fucking work.
Yeah.
A majority of your insurance paperwork is done in Ireland also.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, that's just the way the game gets played. It's the way it works.
Well, there was a time when we had protectionist tariffs and things like that,
Mm-hmm.
and there was a time when there was a time when the Democratic Party was about the working man, and it's terrible what happened to those rivers and everything like that, but there was a guy in that factory who was able to provide for himself and his family and give them a good life. And now there's the Rust Belt where there's nothing.
Right.
And I understand there's a calculus that goes into that. Is it worth what we do to the environment, etc. But right now there is no politician, there's no political party that is advocating for actual working men. I mean, I understand that people think that Republicans do because Trump and everything like that, but they don't. There's people who think the Democrats do because unions, but they don't. I mean, there is no one who's advocating for people who don't make millions of dollars a year. So, unfortunately,
I agree. There should be the middle class needs to be better represented in the political arena, but the basis of a democracy is that you have an educated middle class. This is why democracies, when they're installed in third world countries, fail so rapidly. If you don't have an educated middle class that can make decisions, what good is having a fucking vote?
Well,
if you can't suss out who's bullshit and who's really wants to help you, and then vote the appropriate way, what good is your vote? Is just fucking, it's for show.
The Supreme Court has determined that money is speech. Money is political speech.
Yeah.
And there is not enough money in the middle class to talk louder than the money that the corporations can talk with, and corporations can do political speech. So you're never. It doesn't matter. Like there is no one to speak for the middle class because. So you know that neither party is really at odds with the other party, because both parties will tell you that elect us and we'll do X. Republicans say elect us and we'll I don't know, get rid of abortion, elect us and we'll do this, elect us and we'll do that. Democrats say elect us and we'll do this, elect us and we'll do that. Whenever one party has all the power, none of the bullshit that they say they'll do gets done. None of it. Right. And then as soon as the other party, like as soon as it's split, like one party has like one house and the other party has the Senate, then all of a sudden it's all of a sudden they're fighting. They're writing bills that are going to do all this stuff because they know it won't go anywhere. And it keeps the masses happy. Oh, my guy's fighting for us. Did you see that hearing where my guy asked tough questions? And I like to play the sound bit on YouTube where he really showed that libtard or whatever the fuck it is. I mean, it's all bread and circuses.
It's kabuki theater. Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. That's what it is.
Yeah.
But we've known this since the 40s. It was John Dewey, one of the only real branch of philosophy that comes from America is pragmatism, oddly enough. Because the one thing we seem to not be these days is fucking pragmatic. But John Dewey, the American pragmatist, he wrote in the 40s that it was a fairly common quote in the late 70s, early 80s, that government is just the shadow of corporate America. Like we've known for 80 fucking years that it's corporate America that's calling the fucking shots, that the politicians are bought with, packed money, special interest group shit. And it's the corporations that are running the fucking deal.
Yep. And their interests don't always align with everybody else's.
No, they don't align. Their interests align with themselves. Coca-Cola, Marlboro, they've been caught fucking laundering Colombian cocaine money.
Oh, wow.
Big block buys a product, money transferred to pay, end of the month, product not really needed, shipped back, refund given, money laundered. Both Marlboro and Coca-Cola got bagged for it because some little douchebag mathematics guy, who graduated fucking Harvard or Yale, figured out some scheme to move product to launder fucking money. And maybe the company didn't know about it, and maybe the company did know about it. But there's an employee of the fucking company that was well-educated, high tier in society, that enacted the fucking scheme to launder the money.
What amazes me, I work with an attorney who used to work in finance, and he talks about the float. He used to trade on the float. So apparently like banks have this like slush window where they could do whatever the fuck they want with your money. Like you deposit that check, the bank has it, boom, right there. They do the little boop, 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 but it's not in your account. It's in the bank's account.
Right.
And the bank will invest that fucking money like on a really short trade where they maybe get like pennies on $100, but it's in the billions that they're dealing with. So it's a lot of fucking money. And like, it's just extra money that they get to make off of your money. It's just fucking crazy.
That's actually what I was educated in. My finance degree coming out of college was short-term cash management. And it's all that, taking advantage of these pools of money that traditionally had been set in, just collected in a bank account. And instead of doing that, because the returns are, it's like you said, I think I talked about it last night on my Coded Friend account. It's literally called scraping pennies. And it's literally what big fucking finance trades are about today. It's about taking advantage of idle quarter pennies. There's so much of it that if you can pool it and invest it in a treasury bond that comes due 3 days from now, like you don't need this money until 4 days from now, then you got to have it where it's supposed to be. But I can buy a 90-day T-bill that comes due in 2 days. So you're making better than bank savings account rates of return on the money. It's been going on for a while. Yeah, the float, that's exactly what I was educated in and trained to do before I snuck off to Wall Street and got a job screaming at people in a pit to buy shit that they had for sale. On the civilian side, on the end user side, you know what check kiting is, right?
Where you write a check that you don't have for money you don't have in the bank.
Right. You're going to get paid on Wednesday. Your bill for your electricity is due on Tuesday. Your money's not going to be you have direct deposit. Your money's not going to be in your account till Thursday. So you write the check on Tuesday. So there's mail float. There's mail float too, where the check is in the mail, but the money's not out of your bank account yet. That's mail float.
But see, check kiting is a crime.
Right, because kiting's a crime, I think, because of Boski. Or no, Michael Milken, actually, in the late 70s, early 80s, he was moving large amounts of money bank to bank by check, taking advantage of the clearing, which is kiting. So he would literally have $500,000 in 5 different bank accounts, gaining interest for $250 million. That the $250 million didn't actually exist. It was $50 million in one bank account that a check was wrote against. It would take 7 days for the check to clear. So when that check hit the bank, now there's $100 million. But there was only 50 million there. That's essentially what kiting is. And I'm pretty sure it was Michael Milken who was involved in all that junk bond shit and insider trading with KKR and Ivan Boesky.
So, Scott, I didn't know any of this, by the way. I'm not a banker guy. I don't know anything about this. So you're welcome. We found another thing that I don't know anything about and have to defer to Coded on all of this.
Exactly. But like kiting's not really a phenomenon anymore because the banks got hip to what was going on, and some bean counter at the bank figured out how much they were losing on it, and it created an efficiency in the system where the amount of time to clear a check literally went from 7 days to overnight.
Mm-hmm. But it's not in anybody's account. It's in the bank's account. The check cleared. The money's out of the account you wrote the check on, but it's not in the amount. It's not in the account that you're actually giving the money to.
Right. The bank is holding it for a little period of time because when they cleaned up and made the system efficient, they didn't fuck with the inefficiency that was beneficial to them.
Of course not.
But it's their bank, though. Why shouldn't they do that?
Yeah, why not? Why not make money off of other people's money? It doesn't seem. I mean, kiting, that's a crime, but the bank doing the exact same fucking thing, totally legit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because you're not kiting, and because the bank is a big entity that can cover its own failures. Because the bank can't be put in jail. The bank can buy politicians. Mm-hmm. The bank can pay for politicians to write legislation that's favorable to the bank. Mm-hmm. You, however, fuck you. Well, that's the essential freedom that a corporate entity has. It has all the rights that an individual has, right?
Most of them. But
most of the rights, most of the privileges, and yet it has no soul to save and no body to put in jail.
Yep. So if a corporation commits a crime, it's just going to pay a fine. Do the crime, pay a fine.
Right. That's white collar.
And corporations, the amount they get fined is fucking ridiculous compared to the amount of money they make. So where's the disincentive?
No, there is no disincentive.
I know.
It's the point. It's surprising they don't cheat more than they do, Merb.
Well, it's. I would bet they do cheat more than you think they do. They just do it well enough that they don't get caught, and so I'm sure that they cheat all they can and then some.
They don't cheat more than I think they do because my thinking is very liberal when it comes to their cheating. They do cheat more than I know they do.
There you go. I remember with these small business loans during COVID, boy howdy, there was some cheating going on. And I didn't do any of it, but I know a lot of people who did a lot of cheating with those.
Yeah, because I sat down with one of the owners of the company I work for, because I have a finance background, and we were going through the paperwork together, and we got the first round loan, which we needed because we didn't want to lay people off and things were shut down. But we got really lucky down here in Georgia because Georgia didn't fucking shut down. So while all the northern states were closed down, but everybody was getting their $900 a week fucking check. So one weekend in Atlanta, it was New York City people. The next weekend, it was Boston. Then it was fucking Detroit. Everybody was coming to Atlanta to spend their fucking money. There were clubs that are normally fucking ghost town empty that had lines out the fucking door to get into.
Every law office stayed open during COVID. They were essential because people were still committing crimes, yada, yada. Mm-hmm. And every law office that I am aware of took one of the bailout loans, even though their business didn't go down, even though their costs went down because they didn't have to lay anybody off, and they didn't have to go to court. All the court appearances became remote, so they lost a lot of costs. And electronic filing came into place. You didn't have to send a runner to the court, so their costs went down. Their profits stayed the same. They didn't lay anybody off, and they got all sorts of SBA loans.
Yeah.
Because our government is incredibly fucking inefficient.
They're efficient at throwing money at problems. They're inefficient at keeping track of what they throw and recovering what they throw.
Oh yeah, they throw money.
They know how to throw money. They've been doing it for fucking a long time.
So what happens when money gets too devalued? I mean, over the last couple of years, how many trillions of dollars have we just poofed into existence?
Well, where it hurts you, I don't think it hurts as much at home, which is why it's easy to do. Because if a loaf of bread costs $1.50, a loaf of bread still costs $1.50, even if the dollar is devalued. The only time it really starts to have an impact domestically is if you have to buy, if your currency is being devalued and you have to buy resources from a foreign entity, which requires the conversion of money. That's where you start to see cost increases trickle back in. But if you're a food stuff, a food product that's domestically made, the devaluation of the dollar isn't going to hurt you. It's never going to affect the price of your goods. It only affects.
I would disagree. I think most of our foodstuffs have gone up in cost.
Okay. That's due to the increase in the cost of gasoline because everything's got to be transported. That's more directly related to oil costs. Right? So if we were producing more, we wouldn't be hit as hard if we were producing more domestically, which is why the closure of that Keystone pipeline was it had an impact on bumping up the cost of shit. But now, foreigners, if your currency is weak, foreign countries want to buy your goods because they get a better deal on the conversion. They get more spending power on the conversion of their currency into a US dollar that's weak. So it's actually good for companies that export goods or export services. It's bad for the importers. So there's two sides on this coin, and it kind of washes in the end.
So I don't think so. And the reason why I don't think so is because the more money that there is out there, i.e. the less real value a dollar has, the more of them are out there. The more of them that are out there, the more people want to buy with those. If you only have $10, you only want to buy $10 worth of stuff. If you have $100, you want to buy $100 worth of stuff. So there's going to be more competition for the same resources because there's only a finite number of actual tangible goods to buy. And because there's a finite number of tangible goods to buy, the more dollars that are in circulation, the more competition there's going to be for those tangible goods. And so that is just going to raise the price. It's supply and demand. People have more dollars to spend. They're willing to throw more money at that tangible good to get it. So I beg to differ.
If it's a non-perishable, yes, people will start to, because the price is good, it's lower than it historically is. They'll take advantage of sopping up extra inventory and stockpiling it at a cheaper price. And then, yeah, you're right. What you described will happen. If it's a perishable good, though, it's not. People aren't willing to stockpile what will go to waste before you can use it.
I'm not even saying stockpile. I mean, if as a business owner, I realize I could charge more money because people have more disposable incomes. If I could charge more and people are willing to pay it, then I'm going to charge more because I'm not stupid. So I think it'll raise the prices. And I think we've seen prices get raised in the US, not just from the cost of oil, but a lot of it probably is also tied to the cost of oil. But everything is getting more expensive, including services. And services, generally speaking, aren't necessarily tied to the cost of oil.
Correct.
So apparently supply and demand is a Jimmy Dore creation. I remember learning about the laws of supply and demand in college way back in the 90s. I didn't know that Jimmy Dore was out there in the 90s, but okay. Small minds.
Did someone say that in the chat? Where did
Surrender Monkey thinks that I don't actually agree with Jimmy Dore on a lot of things. Like I don't think that raising the minimum wage is going to do shit, because that just raises costs for, like, there's a reason why fast food prices have increased. There's also a corresponding reason why you're seeing more kiosks and more apps. Buy it on the fucking app. And that's what they're doing, is they're cutting costs, because, you know, if I have to pay this person $15 an hour to boop, 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 put in your little fucking, right, I want a number 2, go large, then if I could just put a machine in there, it's going to be a lot less expensive.
All of the McDonald's, every McDonald's I went to in Hong Kong, and the ones I saw, because you see them in the airport, they're all an electronic order board now. You can't even walk up to the register and order at the register. You have to order on the board.
Because companies are going to find ways to cut costs. And if you tell them that you have to spend $15 an hour for something that isn't worth $15 an hour, then right, they're not going to do it. And
right.
And, you know, there's a reason why call centers are going to India, because they could pay those guys pennies on the dollar for what they'd have to pay someone. There's a lot of the companies in California, their call centers are located in like Alabama and shit, because the cost of living there is a lot lower and the minimum wage is a lot lower. And so, you know, companies aren't stupid. They could pay someone there half as much as they pay someone here and get the same service. And so they do that. So, like, I'm not a Jimmy Dore fan, but there are reasons why. There are some things that are true, or at least that I believe that are true. And I don't care. I don't buy into the left-right bullshit. I think Jimmy Dore is an honest actor. I don't necessarily think he's right about everything, but I think he's an honest actor. And I watch people from all sorts, all over the ideological, political spectrum, because you never know when you're wrong or someone's going to have a better argument. So, yeah, I mean, I don't like Laura. If we're on opposite ends of the political spectrum, great. I'm a monarchist, and if you want to be a Republican or a Democrat, that's great. More power to you.
I'm definitely, without a doubt, a moderate. I think the least government interference in the life of the citizenship is the best way to go. I mean, I'm definitely a fucking moderate, and I'd like to see hands off. Like, I don't think the government should be doing anything that isn't fucking essential. Like, they can't. The bloat in the government and the number of civil servants that are working in fucking government jobs is insane to me. Government. Go ahead.
If I was king of the world, I'd get rid of every agency, because agencies they're very inefficient. And we've delegated Congress has delegated legislative power to an executive branch, which I think is completely asinine. They get to make their own rules, their own laws, and enforce them. That's fucking crazy. If I was king of the U.S., I would limit the federal government to protecting the borders, tariffs, and defense, immigration, and tariffs, and then let the states deal with everything else. The states are more than equipped to deal with everything else. There's every federal law that you see that has any meaningful impact on anything, there's a fucking state law that does the same thing. So basically eliminate 99.99% of the federal government. If I had to keep a Republican form of government, I would turn the House and Senate into basically part-time gigs, because all they'd be able to discuss is immigration, border defense, and tariffs. And it'd be pretty easy peasy lemon squeezy. But monarchy is the way to go.
I don't know about that. I like the Jeffersonian idea where there was, you know, independent households, large landed households that were as self-sufficient as could possibly be. I mean, I think that's the model to go down. I think part of the problem is, you know, we've socially engineered, created dependence almost everywhere.
Oh yeah, but you buy votes by creating dependence.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, you look. I think one of the premier examples of that is the Reverend Jesse Jackson. He identified a whole fuck ton of problems. He never solved a single one of them, because you don't want to solve the problems after you identify them, because if you solve the problem, your power base disappears.
Mm-hmm. Same way unions work.
Yep. Yep.
But at the by creating the dependency, like the prior to the Civil Rights Act, black families were mostly intact. Black men earned quite a bit of money. I mean, they weren't necessarily at parity with white earners, but their families were intact, and they were able to create communities, stable communities, and have jobs, etc. And then after Civil Rights Act, I mean, we've just seen a complete decay, just crumbling of the black family unit, and you know, the rate of single motherhood is through the roof. Mm-hmm. But they don't need a man. And you know, with the Civil Rights Act, they black women especially apparently have really internalized that whole go out and get a degree, and you know, you don't need no man thing. And so it's just been a horrific end result, and just the net effect of it. Whenever the government really does interfere, usually it's bad. There's a few things I think the government should interfere on, and that is to protect the nation state. And that's why in my world, federal government would be limited to tariffs. That would protect internal industry. Would we not be able to buy cheap plastic shit from China? It'd be a lot more expensive. But at the same time, we would probably be able to support ourselves and raise families, because we would have to produce that shit here. So tariffs, defense, not offense, not having bases all over the world we're paying for, not policing the world, but policing our own borders. And as a side note to that, immigration. And that would be super duper cheap. And we wouldn't be spending gross sums of money. Like I think the average American is about 1/3 of all the money they make, they send to the government. And that's not counting property taxes, death taxes, sales taxes, or anything like that. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
It's got to be higher than 1/3.
I think that's just to the average federal and state tax return, I think. Because you know, there's a lot of people out there who don't put any money into the system but get money out.
Right.
So when you start averaging those in, I think it's about 1/3.
Okay. Yeah, Hong Kong really amazed me over there, bro. I didn't see any poor people. I didn't see any homeless people. I saw one dude on the fucking underground on the subway system. One in 14 days. Is
that because the government beats them or throws them into prison or something?
I don't know. I didn't see any kind of fucking treatment like that. I mean, look, Hong Kong was very friendly, very calm, very subdued. It was a very friendly fucking place. I was amazed.
Well, that's good. I mean,
there was I didn't even need a fucking visa. I could have stayed there 90 days. On the 91st day, I would have had to go on and apply for a visa. My wife is a Filipino. My son had the same as me because he's considered an American citizen. My wife, being a Filipino citizen, had a 30-day window before she would have had to go and apply for a visa. So it's a highly densely populated area that's pretty popular, not only for travel, but the amount of fucking goods I saw move through that fucking, the barges and the container ships in and out, the amount of goods I saw flow through that fucking harbor was pretty amazing. And
I think China has like 40% of the industrial capacity of the world or something like that. It's some relatively huge number.
They have a lot of fucking people. They should, with the number of people they have.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of, there's a pollution, there's a haze smog problem from in Hong Kong from mainland China. I guess there's where Hong Kong proper on the mainland ends. I guess there's a low chain of mountains there, and on the other side of that there's just a ton of Chinese factories, so the pollution makes it up over the mountain and then gets kind of trapped, oddly enough, over the very posh part of Hong Kong. So there's every day during the day there's a bit of a haze there, but at night it's beautiful.
Yeah, those pictures you took looked like it was pretty beautiful.
It's clean, it's well lit, it's just a gorgeous fucking city, man. What a blast.
I think I've always found it to be humorous. We live in a contained environment. There's, we don't vent our pollution out into space, but the tree huggers, boy, they sure like to feel good about sending all the industry to other countries. So all the pollution's still there, and there's no restrictions on it like there are in the U.S., but boy, they sure feel better sending it somewhere else. Like it's not going to fuck up the environment in the long run anyway.
Well, it's actually more detrimental to send it elsewhere, because you're sending it to places where they don't give a shit, and the pollution is completely undealt with. It's just released. Whereas if you kept it here, at least we're scrubbing some of this shit.
Yep, that's my point. But people feel great about it because we don't have those dirty factories here.
It's the whole, it's okay as long as it's not in my backyard.
NIMBY.
Yeah. Right. Pollution, I'm only against it when it affects the air I breathe.
Right. And vegetarians and vegans, they don't realize how many animals die to till those fields, to grow those grains. It's a fucking massacre every time a farmer tills a field to plant those soybeans. It's a fucking massacre.
Oh,
they feel good about eating those soybeans. Reality exists, and you could either, like Norm Macdonald says, like you'd either open up your eyes and be like, "This is reality. I'm gonna go into it with my eyes open," or you could close your eyes and pretend. And if you're the close your eyes pretend guy, then great on you. If you want to have your eyes open, then you got to accept it, man. You got to accept it. There's nothing's clean or easy. Except for me, I'm pretty clean and I'm easy.
I'm neither easy nor clean. I clean up well, but...
Are you a dirty boy? Do you need a spanking?
I don't need a spanking, but I am a dirty boy.
Then you need a spanking.
Okay. Thanks for the weirdness.
You're welcome. Somebody had been doubting my gayness earlier, so I just had to reiterate it. I think it was Laura Rader was like demanding. She's like, "You said you were gay." Well, there
bro, you're playing that game so well. You've got those cards so close to the breast. I can't fucking tell. I don't know. For a while, I thought you were gay. Now I don't fucking know.
Well, to be perfectly honest, it's like nobody's business but whoever I'm actually in the bedroom with, right?
Yeah,
why does Dan fucking care? Like, I mean, he might be interested in me, but hey, you know, you can come out here and suck my dick anytime, Dan. I've placed that out on the fucking table for you. You can anytime you want show up and suck my dick. But beyond that, like, why the fuck would anybody care?
Yeah, I mean, when Dan made the accusation that you were pretending to be gay so you could say fag. I'm not gay. I say fag all the time. Oh, that's right, Dan. You brigaded my fucking channel because I said fag. Got me 2 fucking strikes, dickhead. That was a faggy move, Dan.
That's a pretty faggy move.
Yeah, definitely faggy. That's the fucking like. I wonder if you're able to control your fucking hand, or if you tip your arm, your wrist just flops back and fucking forth, faggot.
I'll bet you $100 he said the word fag before.
Oh, he definitely has, without a doubt.
I'll bet you $100 he's used it as an insult.
I'm sure he has. He said his son came out to him and came to him and said his son said to him, "Dad, I'm gay." Do you know what Dan's response to it was? How fatherly and loving. Rate this of 1 to 10. 1 being not loving, not fatherly. 10 being loving and fatherly. He said to his son, "What do I care who you put your dick in?"
That sounds like a made-up story.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
I would be shocked if Dan had a son.
I think he does. I don't know. He claims 3 intimate partners, sexually intimate partners, females, tried to kill him. The ex-wife ran him down with his Aston Martin while his daughter was in the passenger seat. The second woman stabbed him in the thigh with a fucking kitchen knife. I don't know what the method of attempted death was on the 3rd time, but I mean, these are all Dan's stories.
Well, but we have established that Dan is dissociated from the truth. So I don't know why you would give any credence to a Dan story. I don't think that he has a kid. I would be shocked if a woman, because abortion is legal in the United Kingdom. I would be shocked if a woman was like, you know what? I want to have that fucking waterhead's baby. Well, because remember, genetic defect is a big issue in Wales. Mm-hmm. So there is a non-zero chance that if he got a woman pregnant, then I doubt anyone would carry his baby to term.
Well, now his current love interest, the digital girlfriend, Bleka, says she's seen Dan's 11-year-old daughter and she's deathly afraid of her.
This is the Becca that said that they had Charlie, right?
Exactly, the same Bleka, yes.
So again, dissociation from the truth. And a willingness to associate herself with someone who is also obviously lying. I don't know.
Goes to character.
Jesus hung out with prostitutes and everything like that, and that didn't make him a prostitute or a John. But she participates.
Right.
Like, she participates, like in that raffle thing they got going on. She's a participant. So I think whatever filth he's in, she's covered in it as well.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I think she co-signs his lies. She has her own lies and she co-signs his lies.
I feel bad for her because I think she desperately wanted to be with a YouTube creator, and Dan was the only one that she was able to get the hook in.
Well, that's kind of weird. Like, why? What do YouTube creators have?
I don't know. Maybe an income stream. There's a rumor that the chubby faced boy has some nudes of her. It's just a rumor, though. I don't know if that's
You're
true.
talking about Irish Demon, the fat-faced motherfucker?
Fat-faced motherfucker? Yes. Yeah,
Wow.
there was
Nudes of her?
just a rumor that there was shopping there first.
Trust him to have nudes of something like that. Ugh.
Yeah.
I mean, he did seal the deal with Shiz, so
our own.
I have a lot of respect for his ability to perform under those conditions. Wow.
Fat face boy?
Yeah, but have you seen her? Have you seen her unfiltered?
Who?
Shiz.
I like Shiz. I haven't seen her unfiltered. I've barely. I think I've seen like 2 pictures of Shiz. I don't really care about that shit. I'm not poo-pooing anything you're saying, or you can talk as freely as you want to talk. I just want to let you know, heads up. I like her as a person.
I know you like her as a person.
Cool.
But Irish Demon managed to seal the deal with that.
Right.
And it looks like a lumpy sack of potatoes.
Oh, that's kind of harsh, man.
Oof. Reality's a bitch, though. I mean, so on the one hand, Irish Demon is a bitch. Flying across the country to White Knight for Shiz. I mean, he hit it, and then he did the little bar scene where he fucking bitched out and didn't want to tussle with Turtle Boy. And then he flies back and talks shit. Like, on the one hand, he's a giant bitch, but on the other hand, he managed to get his little soldier to march for Shiz. So, respect, sir.
He did do the one thing that the Welsh Waterhead window licker hasn't been able to do yet. Get out of his fucking bedroom and get in a plane and fly across the fucking ocean. I mean, you got to give Irish that. He did show up.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, if Irish is not a rich man, he doesn't profess to be rich,
right?
And I also don't think he lives in a council house, so he might have more bills on a daily basis than. And we know we've seen Irish outside because he was at like a dog show or something with a very cute, very small dog. Maybe it looked a lot smaller than it was due to Irish's bulk, but it looked like a very small dog. But anyway, he managed to fly across the ocean to fucking hit it with a fat American girl. So why can't Dan?
Because he can't afford an airline ticket, and he stupidly told everyone he owns a private jet.
All I'm saying is reality exists. The reality is, if he did own a jet, he could have done it. He would have done it. Right. If he had money, he could have bought the plane ticket. He would have bought the plane ticket. He didn't do it. So obviously he doesn't.
Why can't your cardiologist fly in the plane too? Are there only 4 seats in the fucking plane? Bring the cardiologist with you, Mr. Moneybags. Scrooge McWaterhead Duck.
Not a single fast food bag full of trash clothes dropped on the... Wait, look. The way you can tell a man is gay everywhere, Merb broadcast. Not a single fast food bag full of trash clothes dropped on the floor. I don't record in my bedroom or the kitchen, so how do you know?
Right.
I mean, and you only see behind me. I mean, I'm outside right now, but there might be a trash bag full of clothes and a bag full of or fast food bags all over up there. You don't even know.
So I brought up it's odd that comment. I brought up the Unforgiven Jerry because apparently he has a picture of Blecka's coochie with a vibratory apparatus in it. You want to confirm that, Jerry, or deny that? I heard a rumor.
I have no interest in seeing that.
No, I don't want to see it. I just want to confirm or deny that he actually has the picture. I heard a rumor. I heard she was going to move in with you for a while too there, Jer. Is that true or not true? You know, while we're on the subject.
Is Jerry a Danite?
Jerry was a Reaperite, the chicken breast thief. Did you catch wind of that story?
That was Frauditor Reaper. I thought that was a different Frauditor.
No,
there's Frauditor Reaper and Frauditor Wrangler.
There's Frauditor Reaper and Frauditor Wrangler. Frauditor Reaper.
They're both dirty fucking thieves.
They're both dirty. Well, one is a dirty petty thief, and the other is a drug addicted burglar. who is
well, I lump them together.
Okay.
If you'll steal chicken breasts, you'll steal prescriptions from an old lady.
Okay, cool. So I guess Jerry was sidekick to Reaper for a little while.
Nice.
I didn't follow Reaper closely until the great chicken breast fiasco.
Does she cook chicken well?
I don't know, but at $157 for a package of chicken breast, you better be the best damn chicken breast cook this side of the fucking Mississippi.
Like stuff them, fold blue cheese or something into them.
Oh God, now I'm fucking hungry, Merb. Shit.
Sorry.
That's all right.
What? So I didn't always have the kind of income that I have now, and when I became a lawyer, my income increased fairly dramatically over what it had been, and I started going to expensive restaurants. One of the attorneys that I work with is a bit of a he really likes to go to the high end restaurants, and it was pretty interesting. Like it's a whole side of tastes and experiences and things that I never really knew was out there, and but I got it out of my system.
You got past it?
Yeah, I got past it. I every so often, I might take the wife out to someplace really nice. Like there's this place called Wise Vineyards near me that has really nice food and a great view. It's like of the valley. It's like a Mediterranean kind of feel with a great wine list. And I'll take her out there, very rarely, every once in a while, but we both got past it. It was interesting to all the frou-frou food, but give me a burger. I'm still just a poor white trash.
So I'm with you on I'm the poor white trash side of the food equation. I do have a neighborhood buddy who's a 5-star chef. He's actually my best friend's older brother, and lucky for me, he's down here in the South with us. He graduated CIA, Culinary Institute of America, Hyde Park, New York. Mm-hmm. He's a 5-star pastry chef. He's on the management side of the equation now. But I can show up at the club he's at with it, I can go to the butcher shop, get a fucking tenderloin, a nice cut of meat, and just show up at his club and fucking throw the meat at him, and 4-course meal will fucking show up on the table. So I fucking love it. I absolutely love it. But he, when I came down to the South, I would hang out with him, and like once a week we would go out for dinner. We never fucking paid for anything because he was a chef. So, everything got comped. And if the chef at that place showed up at his place, that chef got comped. These guys all take care of each other. Mm-hmm. So, he got me up to speed on the food cheats, and, and then he blew me away one day. He's like, for us, for the chefs, it's not what it tastes like that fucking matters. All of us can make good food. It's all about what it looks like. Mm-hmm. And I was like, how could looks supersede taste? And he's just like, he's like, you're the fucking dumbest smart guy I know. If it don't look good, are you going to fucking eat it? And I was like, all right, bro, I got you. I'm with you. It don't matter how it tastes. If you look at it and you say, I ain't touching that fucking thing. Mm-hmm. Color, the vibrancy of when you're high end like that, it's all about the presentation. It's all about the color of the food. I mean, a gray piece of meat might taste great, but nobody's paying for it at that fucking level.
A gray piece of meat, if it doesn't bleed, it's not for me.
Right. Seared, charred on the outside, mooing in the middle. That's me, man. I like that shit as raw as possible. So, what in the fine dining thing? What's your favorite?
Like what? Like what kind of food? Fine dining?
Yeah. What entree? What are you going for? Are you going seafood? Are you going beef? Are you going pork? Are you going poultry? Like a nice goose confit.
You know, I will dabble in really whatever. Probably red beef, probably beef. That I remember Le Diplomat in Washington D.C. They had a steak that was just fucking amazing. And it like so what I learned is that like the steaks that you buy at the supermarket are not good. They're not good. Like the best steak you buy at the supermarket is not good. And whatever they do, like aging it or whatever, it's a completely different fucking experience when you actually get a steak at one of these restaurants. But like but probably for me, it's probably red meat. I'm not a fan of seafood in particular. Pork is, I like pork. Poultry is all right, but I haven't seen them. The biggest difference for me that I have seen is the quality of the meat, of the beef. And I haven't really seen a difference in the quality of the pork. I mean, sometimes they season it really nice. Sometimes they do this or that, the other thing, the sides or whatever. You're like, oh, this is nice. But it's not like but the meat is really you could taste the difference. How about you?
So my buddy, who's a 5-star chef, he did a pork because his buddy raised the pig. Mm-hmm. So they cooked it all up at his place, and we all came over and had it. It was finished the last 30 days. It ate nothing but acorns. Mm-hmm. And it had an impact on the flavor of the meat. So in the Philippines, I have a working farm. I have chickens, I have ducks, I have cows, I have pigs. We do a lot of pigs. And I have an aquaponic setup where I started with like 25, 30 tilapia fingerlings about 5 years ago. I have thousands of fucking fish now. I literally catch them up after I harvest. I'll catch the little fry. Probably none of them survive, but I bring them down to the river and I let them go. I don't know what to fucking do with these fish. So when I do a pig in the Philippines, I have over my pig pen is a gigantic fucking mango tree. So if I time it right to where the mangoes are ripening, I'll finish a pig on the last 30 days. Nothing but fucking mangoes. All mangoes. It's really good. It's really good. It just kind of tweaks the flavor a little bit. I'm a big fan of lamb, although it fucks up my gut. But I can't, if you put lamb in front of me, I know I'm going to pay for it 2 days down the road. Probably might not be able to leave the house, but I'm eating the fucking lamb anyways. I can't get past the taste of it. I fucking love lamb. It wrecks my gut, but I fucking love lamb. And almost any kind of fish. When I was in Hong Kong, literally 2 blocks down was a bakery. So I was like getting up at like 3 o'clock in the morning and checking in on Discord, chatting with the afternoon people in the US, and then banging on the back door of the bakery because they would literally give me a bet, which I would pay through the fucking nose for, but I didn't care. They would give me a bag of fucking fresh baked bread, rolls, all kinds of shit. And I would bring it back to the hotel room and split it up with the people on our floor. But a block down on the opposite side of the road from the hotel was a fucking sushi place because we were in the harbor, so there was all kinds of fresh fish around. And that guy was getting me nice fucking cuts of sushi. I think the last thing I had was like red tuna, and it was red with those perfect white fat lines through it. Oh my God, fucking heaven. So
sushi quality tuna is expensive as fuck.
No shit, dude. Why do you think my fucking bill was so high? There's probably 1,000 easily an extra fucking over the top grand in fucking food there. And a lot of it was the fucking sushi shit. I was paying up for that. But I mean, if you're going to eat, it's vacation. I had a budget. I didn't blow my budget. I stayed right on my budget. I might have come I was close to going over budget, but I was supposed to meet up with Diarmuid Costello when I flew through Amsterdam on the way back because I had a 13-hour layover. So I walked across from the airport. Right across the street was a Sheraton hotel. You know, I was expecting to pay $250, $300 for, you know, a night in the hotel. $500 fucking dollars.
But you were still within budget because you had $1,000 to spend.
I dropped it, and then I walked out. I still had the other $500 because Diarmuid couldn't make it up to Amsterdam because he had a medical issue and he had to have some work done. So I missed him on this time. But there will be future traveling. I think in the future, if I take a trip again, I'll try to make it so I can meet up with some YouTubers.
Well, I am summoned, so it has been real. It has been fun. Thank you for the conversation, and you have a wonderful night.
Thank you, Merb. Thank you for being a fan, dude, and thank you for the little bit of plug. I picked up some subs off your people. Thank you much. I hope I keep you entertained. If you
do it for you.
If you have anything you want me to cover, feel free to slide a note under my door.
How about I just nudge you in the morning?
You come on, dude. You're not supposed to fucking tell. Jesus Christ.
All right, man. You guys have a great night.
All right, man. Have a good day, bro. Later. All right. That's the Merb, man. Didn't get the outro tune. I got one set up. I'm going to pop this. And I'm dying to go have a cigarette. Once again, a lot of thanks to Merb. He was on my list of dudes I wanted to have a conversation with. Not quite the conversation I thought we were going to have. More of a shoot the shit. Maybe I can get Merb to come around in the future. And Stone Vet asks, I'm behind. Which one of you hates the gays, GEIGHS more? I don't know if either one of us hate anything. I do hate this, though.
You're not relevant, you piece of shit troll.
I hate the way Hank can't get a fucking sentence out of his mouth. Boy, do I hate that. I used to let that fucking guy co-host with me. Oh, my God. Hang on, let me cue something up. I'll read a few comments, and then I got to get a cigarette in me. I've been 3.5 hours talking with Merb. Where did I put my... This is SFW 826. Oh, I dated it wrong. All right, loaded up the outro tune. Let's see what's going on in the chat here. Oh, fuck. Surrender Monkey says noted, but I'm doing a pepper cheese roux. What was that in response to? Logan Sandman says, at Surrender Monkey, I recommended a Santa Maria rub. Food talk. I got the foodies excited. Let me get more current in the chat here. Stoned Vet. You also have some good Frauditor Wrangler stuff to catch up on. A lot went down. I do. I was over in his He had a broadcast before this one went on. He wouldn't fucking respond to me, a little fucking coward. I asked him if he was still talking shit about me behind my back. What a fucking piece of shit he is, man. Dickhead. He wouldn't fucking answer me, little pussy boy. I can't wait till that fucking info comes out about him. Logan Sandman says, Hank gifted me a membership and another live couple days ago. I thanked him in open chat. Good for you, Logan. Stone Vet does have a new video out. It was out today. I listened to, I think, 80% of that before this started. And then I jumped over to the Fraudit Wrangler live, and, you know, he's being a fucking little hide in the corner coward. Stone Fett says, at the Unforgiven, Jerry posted one about an hour before this live. Yes. Stone Vet muted my live chats. Wrangler muted you? Or you muted your own live chats? Laura Rader says, yeah, Josh watched it before this live. Laura Rader, good question, no answers. Yeah, he didn't fucking answer me at all. Josh says, so I went to his Discord and fucked him up for the last 30 minutes of his stream before he caught it. Nice, dude, nice. Stone Vet says, sorry, FW muted me. He's such a fucking little pansy boy. You're a fag too, Wrangler. Douche. Douche. Welsh News Now is with us way back to the beginning of the chat. I missed your last live stream, but our band name is actually the Window Lickers. That the fucking band thing. Let me check the whole name of the band thing was actually got a pretty decent response, both in the chat last night and in the comments afterward. Oh, Kate was on tonight. What was I just going to look up? Oh, that graphic that Kate made of Cyrax is pretty fucking disturbing. So jet lagged was last night. Let's go through really quickly. Flo B wants to call the band Becca and the Vibrators. Blacka and the Vibrators. Highest Priestess wants to go Council Housing and the Prisoners. Frauditor Hunter says Dildan and the Hemorrhoids. I suggested the first album by that band be titled The Anal Itch. Alan Killian would like a little Blacka and the Discharges for the band name. True Blood wants to do Dildan and the Blue Waffles. True Blood also suggests Dan and the Laptops, Dan and the Blue BLEW Bears, Dan's Melonheads. Fuck, nice. He had a decent response on that shit. Alan Killian was here. Scott Amo. Jolly Philly, which is Jolie Philly. I think I've been pronouncing it wrong for a while. She says, looks like we're back on regular time. Yeah. I should be able to start doing evening broadcasts again, but then I'm going to go back to work. I got to call owner tomorrow and talk to him. I don't think I can manage. I think I have too much free time if I don't go back to work. Zach and Butch, the friendly pitbull, says, hello, CodedFriend.oo1 Merb34th Street. Everyone in the chat, NTFG. Rebel at Heart was with us. Radius was with us. Mechanics. Johnny Switchblade. True Blood. Merb. Who is ready for some F-bombs? I think our talk Merb was a little on the subdued side. Merb, you're not my daddy. Oh, he's responding. Dermot Costello says, I will fucking mute any F-bombs. Say it or you can fuck off. Welsh News Network says the Windows Liquor Union number 369 is watching. Rebel at Heart. The two of the people the window lickers hate got to love it. Yeah. I'm glad we got a little Dan talk in. We'll cut that up and make a short out of it. Maybe I could hire the drug addict Brokeback Limey to make the short for me. I should approach him about a job. Welsh News Network says the F-bomb is a weapon of ass destruction. Uh-oh. Jolly Philly says, hi, Discord, hand pink waving. I like you guys. Welsh News Network says, have I mentioned that I love Blecka's cream cheese? You have not, but then you did. Hello, baby pops into the room. Who's wearing pants? Who's wearing pants? Laura Rader says, oops, I'm going to go watch the other 3 lives I missed to be here. Love you, folks. Later. Thanks for being here, Laura. I think it's time to wrap this up. I need to have a cigarette before I get a little kooky, because I have not had one at all today. Maybe today's the day I should fucking quit smoking. I don't know. We'll flip a coin right after. Yeah, I'm going to pull the plug. Thanks, everybody, for being here. I'll catch you again tomorrow. I should have something going on. Thank you again, Merb. Appreciate you. Appreciate your sense of humor. And you ball busted. Later. Oh. He didn't show her the top of his 214. He apparently showed her something that had National Guard mentioned, but wouldn't show anything else. Josh, after you present, I think that you and I should maybe do a stream and have a little convo about fucking frauded twangler. All right, I'm out. Here we go. This is Fats Waller on the way in and on the way out.
Nothing wrong with me, babes. Nothing at all.
Baby, baby, what is the matter with you?
One never knows, do one?
You got the world in a jar.
Yeah, but where's the stopper?
And you got nothing to do.
Do you hear that, miss? She's always laying it on me.
You know I always told you you'd be the death of me. And when I'm always with you, I get the third degree. That ain't right.
I'll tell these fools anything but tell me the truth.
Oh, that ain't right at all.
What's wrong with it? What's wrong with it?
Yes, you're taking all my money and going out having yourself a ball.
Baby, I was born balling and I'm gonna ball the rest of my life.
I took you to a nightclub. I bought you pink champagne.
That's right.
You rode home in a taxi while I caught that subway train.
Hey, hey.
That ain't right.
Oh, that's all right, baby. That's just a slight skip.
Oh, that ain't right at all.
Oh, that's all right, babe. That's all right with me, in fact.
That's you taking all my money and going out having yourself a ball.
Oh, beef to me, mama, beef to me. I don't like pork no-how.
I went to a fortune teller.
Yeah?
And had my fortune told.
What'd she say?
She said you didn't love me. All you wanted was my gold.
She was right. How'd she know?
That ain't right. Oh, it ain't right at all.
Everybody wants some gold, baby.
Yes, you're taking all my money and going out having yourself a ball.
Suffer. Suffer excess baggage. Suffer. Yeah.
Later for you. Catch you tomorrow. Have a good night.